I'm on my own. Tell me what's going on, what's in your head. I miss your voice, miss you in bed. Constant text you left on red. I'll never see your face again. I'm too lost, don't know what I'm on. Without you, I'm gone. I'm just way too numb. So I'm on the way. 100 missed calls from yesterday. So I contemplate picking up the phone and make another mistake. I'm so gone in space. I don't think I'll be the same. Don't come back when I have fame. At least I'm left with you to blame.
Run away, run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away, run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away, run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away, run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. Run away with me when you're ready. What I gotta do to keep it steady. I know that the pain is feeling heavy, but I'll be by your side if you let me. Feeling like a doctor, I'm just losing all my patience. And I really, really miss you, I can't even start to fake it. But my mama always told me you gotta fake it till you make it. But you've been on my mind and I really can't take it, no. Say you're gonna run away, but you meant from me. And I'm caught in my emotions, but you're not sorry. You said that I'm not right for you, and now it haunts me. Wish I was your ride or die, you lie, now I'm free. Run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away, run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away, run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away, run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. Gotta find my escape now. Got me tired of the beat down. But I'm smiling through the pain and I'm crying for a change. Cause my head got me spinning round. Lost control and I'm falling for you. Gave my all but now I ignore you. All the things I had in store, yeah. Now I gotta run away. Now I gotta run away. Tell me to leave, but I wanted to stay. Riding solo while I skirt through the race. Sipping straight out the bottle, ain't no need to chase. And I got all these problems that I need to face, but I'm gonna run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away, run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away, run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away, run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. So what about us? We've been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Let the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. We gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. Got your beer till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we could get it in, don't move on. Move on, don't move on. Put me on blast, one side of the story. You don't wanna hear me out, cause you loving the glory. Thought I saw your true colors, but my vision was blurry. Forever lasts forever, but you left in a hurry. Say you wanna get drunk, make love. I just wanna take drugs, have fun. Put your body in a Maybach and Ralph Lauren. We could get wild, we don't gotta stay boring. So So what about us? We've been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Love the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. We gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. Thought you'd be here till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we can get it in, don't move on. Move on, don't move on.
I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Oh, I saw you fucked it up. Ever since you left, all I knew was to run my money up. And now you see I'm coming up, got it on my own. I was down back on my ass, and I can't find a happy home. Yeah, promise I won't bother you. No sense ain't calling you, don't know why I would fall for you. I should have offered you, baby, I can't talk to you. I'm just not comfortable, baby, you're not lovable. You fucked it all up.
I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Honestly, if you want to continue to be petty like this, go for it. Keep ignoring my calls. Keep denying every single text I have ever sent you. Because I'm done. This bullshit over and over and over again. I'm so sick and tired of it. And you just don't understand. But that's fine. I'm used to being second place.
I tried and tried and tried, no matter all the times you lied. I cried and cried and cried, then it took me late into the night. When I lost it again. You're calling, I'm not shit. I'm off one again. If I'm honest, you were toxic. Just to me, you're dead. 'Cause I lost it all again. Can't go on without you. Too many memories put behind. I can't go on without you. I think I've been pushed to the side. Where'd you go? Where am I? Where are we? I'm all alone. You refuse to help me. We've been touched so long. It's 3:30. If I had one wish, it would be yours permanently. I tried into the night. When I lost it again. You're calling, I'm not shit. I'm off one again.
Hey, I like it.
I was thinking about you, but you were way too far away. Why'd you go away? I said, why'd you go away? I have nothing left to say. I have nothing left to say. I'm stuck in my ways. I said, I am on my way. I'm too lost, don't know what I'm on. Without you, I'm gone. I'm just way too numb. So I'm on the way. 100 missed calls from yesterday. So I contemplate picking up the phone and make another mistake. So gone in space. I don't think I'll be the same. Don't come back when I have fame. At least I'm left with you to blame. Honestly, can't you see what you've done to me? Like honestly, how could you move on from me? I proved you wrong, and I lost it all. Like when I left, I lost control. It's all your fault, I'm on my own. Tell me what's going on, what's in your head? I miss your voice, miss you in bed. Constant texts you left on red. I'll never see your face again. I'm too lost, don't know what I'm on. Without you, I'm gone. I'm just way too numb. So I'm on the way. 100 missed calls from yesterday. So I contemplate picking up the phone and make another mistake. So gone in space. I don't think I'll be the same. Don't come back when I have fame. At least I'm left with you to blame.
Run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. Run away with me when you're ready. What I gotta do to keep it steady? I know that the pain is feeling heavy, but I'll be by your side if you let me. Like a doctor, I'm just losing all my patience, and I really, really miss you. I can't even start to fake it. But my mama always told me you gotta fake it till you make it. But you've been on my mind, and I really can't take it, no. Say you gonna run away, but you meant from me. And I'm caught in my emotions, but you're not sorry. You said that I'm not right for you, and now it haunts me. Wish I was your right today. You lied, now I'm free. Run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. Gotta find my escape now. Got me tired of the beat down. But I'm smiling through the pain, and I'm crying for a change, cause my head got me spinning round. Lost control and I'm falling for you. Gave my all, but now I ignore you. All the things I had in store, yeah. But now I gotta run away. Tell me to leave, but I wanted to stay. Riding solo while I skirt through the race. Sipping straight out the bottle, ain't no need to chase. And I got all these problems that I need to face, but I'm gone. Run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the So what about us? We've been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Love the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. We gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. Got your beard till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we could get it in, don't move on. Move on, don't move on. Put me on blast one side of the story. You don't wanna hear me out cause you loving the glory. Thought I saw your true colors but my vision was blurry. Forever lasts forever but you left in a hurry. You wanna get drunk, make love. I just wanna take drugs, have fun. Put your body in a Maybach and Ralph Lauren. We could get wild, we don't gotta stay boring. Summer so sweet, California. Cause girl, you know me and I adore ya. We could make peace, don't make me more ya. You may be evil, but I adore ya. So what about us? We've been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Love the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. We gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. Got your beard till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we could get in, don't move on. Move on, don't move on.
I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Oh, I saw you fucked it up. Ever since you left, all I knew was to run my money up. And now you see I'm coming up, got it on my own. I was not back on my ass, and I can't find a happy home. Yeah, promise I won't bother you. No sense ain't calling you, don't know why I would fall for you. I should've offered you, baby, I can't talk to you. I'm just not comfortable, baby, you're not lovable. Fuck it all up.
I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Honestly, if you want to continue to be petty like this, go for it. Keep ignoring my calls. Keep denying every single text I have ever sent you. Because I'm done. This bullshit over and over and over again. I'm so sick and tired of it. And you just don't understand. But that's fine. I'm used to being second place.
I tried and tried and tried, no matter all the times you lied. I cried and cried and
like it.
I was thinking about you, but you were way too far away. Why'd you go away? I said, why'd you go away? I have nothing left to say. I have nothing left to say. I'm stuck in my ways. I said, I am on my way. I'm too lost, don't know what I'm on. Without you, I'm gone. I'm just way too numb. So I'm on the way. 100 missed calls from yesterday. So I contemplate picking up the phone and make another mistake. So gone in space. I don't think I'll be the same. Don't come back when I have fame. At least I'm left with you to blame. Honestly, can't you see what you've done to me? Like honestly, how could you move on from me? I proved you wrong, and I lost it all. Like when I left, I lost control. It's all your fault, I'm on my own. Tell me what's going on, what's in your head? I miss your voice, miss you in bed. Constant texts you left on red. I'll never see your face again. I'm too lost, don't know what I'm on. Without you, I'm gone. I'm just way too numb. So I'm on the way. 100 missed calls from yesterday. So I contemplate picking up the phone and make another mistake. So gone in space. I don't think I'll be the same. Don't come back when I have fame. At least I'm left with you to blame.
Run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. Run away with me when you're ready. What I gotta do to keep it steady? I know that the pain is feeling heavy, but I'll be by your side if you let me. Feeling like a doctor, I'm just losing all my patience, and I really, really miss you. I can't even start to fake it. But my mama always told me you gotta fake it till you make it. But you've been on my mind, and I really can't take it, no. Say you gonna run away, but you meant from me. And I'm caught in my emotions, but you're not sorry. You said that I'm not right for you, and now it haunts me. Wish I was your ride or die. You lied, now I'm free. Run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. Gotta find my escape now. Got me tired of the beat down. But I'm smiling through the pain and I'm crying for a change. Twist my head, got me spinning round. Lost control and I'm falling for you. Gave my all, but now I ignore you. All the things I had in store, yeah. Now I gotta run away. Tell me to leave, but I wanted to stay. Riding solo while I skirt through the race. Sipping straight out the bottle, ain't no need to chase. And I got all these problems that I need to face, but I'm gonna run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the only place So what about us? We been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Let the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. We gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. Got your beard till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we could get it in, don't move on. Move on, don't move on. Put me on blast, one side of the story. You don't wanna hear me out, cause you loving the glory. Thought I saw your true colors, but my vision was blurry. Forever lasts forever, but you left in a hurry. Say you wanna get drunk, make love. I just wanna take drugs, have fun. Put your body in a Maybach and Ralph Lauren. We could get wild, we don't gotta stay boring. Summer so sweet, California. Cause girl, you know me and I adore ya. We could make peace, don't make me more ya. You may be evil, but I adore ya. So what about us? We been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Let the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. We gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. Got your beard till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we could get it in, don't move on. Move on, don't move on.
I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Oh, I saw you fucked it up. Ever since you left, all I knew was to run my money up. And now you see I'm coming up, got it on my own. I was down bad on my ass, and I can't find a happy home. Yeah, yeah. Promise I won't bother you. No sense ain't calling you. Don't know why I would fall for you. I should have offered you. Baby, I can't talk to you. I'm just not comfortable. Baby, you're not lovable. You fucked it all up.
I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Honestly, if you want to continue to be petty like this, go for it. Keep ignoring my calls. Keep denying every single text I ever sent you. Because I'm done. This bullshit over and over and over again. I'm so sick and tired of it. And you just don't understand. But that's fine. I'm used to being second place.
I tried and tried and tried, no matter all the times you lied. I cried and cried and cried. I was thinking about you, but you were way too far away. Why'd you go away? I said, why'd you go away? I have nothing left to say. I have nothing left to say. I'm stuck in my ways. I said, I am on my way. I'm too lost, don't know what I'm on. Without you, I'm gone. I'm just way too numb. So I'm on the way. 100 missed calls from yesterday. So I contemplate picking up the phone and make another mistake. So gone in space. I don't think I'll be the same. Don't come back when I have fame. At least I'm left with you to blame. Honestly, can't you see what you've done to me? Like honestly, how could you move on from me? I proved you wrong, and I lost it all. Like when I left, I lost control. It's all your fault, I'm on my own. Tell me what's going on, what's in your head? I miss your voice, miss you in bed. Constant text you left on red. I'll never see your face again. I'm too lost, don't know what I'm on. Without you, I'm gone. I'm just way too numb. So I'm on the way. 100 missed calls from yesterday. So I contemplate picking up the phone and make another mistake. So gone in space. I don't think I'll be the same. Don't come back when I have fame. At least I'm left with you to blame.
Run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. Run away with me when you're ready. What I gotta do to keep it steady? I know that the pain is feeling heavy, but I'll be by your side if you let me. Like a doctor, I'm just losing all my patience, and I really, really miss you. I can't even start to fake it. But my mama always told me you gotta fake it till you make it. But you've been on my mind, and I really can't take it, no. Say you gonna run away, but you meant from me. And I'm caught in my emotions, but you're not sorry. You said that I'm not right for you, and now it haunts me. Wish I was your right today. You lied, now I'm free. Run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. Gotta find my escape now. Got me tired of the beat down, but I'm smiling through the pain and I'm crying for a change, 'cause my head got me spinning round. Lost control and I'm falling for you. Gave my all, but now I ignore you. All the things I had in store, yeah. But now I gotta run away. Tell me to leave, but I wanted to stay. Riding solo while I skirt through the race. Sipping straight out the bottle, ain't no need to chase. And I got all these problems that I need to face, but I'm gone. Run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. So what about us? We been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Let the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. We gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. That's your beer till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we could get it in, don't move on. Move on, don't move on. Put me on blast one side of the story. You don't wanna hear me out cause you loving the glory. Thought I saw your true colors but my vision was blurry. Forever lasts for never but you left in a hurry. You wanna get drunk, make love. I just wanna take drugs, have fun. Put your body in a Maybach and Ralph Lauren. We could get wild, we don't gotta stay boring. Summer so sweet, California. Cause girl, you know me and I adore ya. We could make peace, don't make me more ya. You may be evil, but I adore ya. So what about us? We been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Let the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. We gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. That's your beer till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we could get it in, don't move on. Move on, don't move on.
I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Oh, I saw you fucked it up. Ever since you left, all I knew was to run my money up. And now you see I'm coming up, got it on my own. I was not back on my ass, and I can't find a happy home. Yeah. Promise I won't bother you. No sense ain't calling you. Don't know why I would fall for you. I should have offered you. Baby, I can't talk to you. I'm just not comfortable. Baby, you're not lovable. Fuck it all up.
I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Honestly, if you want to continue to be petty like this, go for it. Keep ignoring my calls. Keep denying every single text I ever sent you. Because I'm done. This bullshit over and over and over again. I'm so sick and tired of it. And you just don't understand. But that's fine. I'm used to being second place.
I tried and tried and tried, no matter all the times you lied. I cried and cried and pushed to the side. Where'd you go? Where am I? Where are we? I'm all alone. You refuse to help me. We've been tough so long. It's 3:30. If I had one wish, it would be yours permanently. I come high, late into the night. When I lost it, I lost it, I lost it again. You're calling, I'm not shit. Someone fun again. If I'm honest, you were toxic. Just to me, you're dead. 'Cause I lost it all again. Lost it all again. I lost it. I lost it all again.
Wow, voicemail again. Classy, I like it.
I was thinking about you, but you were way too far away. Why'd you go away? I said, why'd you go away? I have nothing left to say. I have nothing left to say. I'm stuck in my ways. I said, I am on my way. I'm too lost, don't know what I'm on. Without you, I'm gone. I'm just way too numb. So I'm on the way. 100 missed calls from yesterday. So I contemplate picking up the phone and make another mistake. So gone in space. I don't think I'll be the same. Don't come back when I have fame. At least I'm left with you to blame. Honestly, can't you see what you've done to me? Like honestly, how could you move on from me? I proved you wrong, and I lost it all. Like when I left, I lost control. It's all your fault, I'm on my own. Tell me what's going on, what's in your head. I miss your voice, miss you in bed. Constant texts you left on red. I'll never see your face again. I'm too lost, don't know what I'm on. Without you, I'm gone. I'm just way too numb. So I'm on the way. 100 missed calls from yesterday. So I contemplate picking up the phone and make another mistake. So gone in space. I don't think I'll be the same. Don't come back when I have fame. At least I'm left with you to blame.
Run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. Run away with me when you're ready. What I gotta do to keep it steady? I know that the pain is feeling heavy, but I'll be by your side if you let me. Feeling like a doctor, I'm just losing all my patience, and I really, really miss you. I can't even start to fake it. But my mama always told me you gotta fake it till you make it. But you've been on my mind, and I really can't take it. No, say you gonna run away, but you meant from me. And I'm caught in my emotions, but you're not sorry. You said that I'm not right for you, and now it haunts me. Wish I was your ride or die. You lied, now I'm free. Run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. find my escape now. Got me tired of the beat down. But I'm smiling through the pain and I'm crying for a change. Cause my head got me spinning round. Lost control and I'm falling for you. Gave my all but now I ignore you. All the things I had in store, yeah. Now I gotta run away. Tell me to leave, but I wanted to stay. Riding solo while I skirt through the race. Sipping straight out the bottle, ain't no need to chase. And I got all these problems that I need to face. But I'm gonna run away from giving you all my time. I've been trying to find a way to run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. So what about us? We've been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Love the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. Got your beard till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we could get it in, don't move on. Don't move on. Put me on blast, one side of the story. You don't wanna hear me out, cause you loving the glory. Thought I saw your true colors, but my vision was blurry. Forever lasts forever, but you left in a hurry. You wanna get drunk, make love. I just wanna take drugs, have fun. Put your body in a Maybach and Ralph Lauren. We could get wild, we don't gotta stay boring. Summer so sweet, California. Cause girl, you know me and I adore ya. We could make peace, don't make me more ya. You may be evil, but I adore ya. So what about us? We've been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Love the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. Got your beard till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we could get it in, don't move on. Don't move on.
I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Oh, I saw you fucked it up. Ever since you left, all I knew was to run my money up. And now you see I'm coming up, got it on my own. I was down bad on my ass, and I can't find a happy home. Yeah, promise I won't bother you. No sense ain't calling you, don't know why I would fall for you. I should've offered you, baby, I can't talk to you. I'm just not comfortable, baby, you're not loving
I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black, hear your voice with the hey wow. I'm toned and I'm spaced, I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black, hear your voice with the hey wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Honestly, if you want to continue to be petty like this, go for it. Keep ignoring my calls. Keep denying every single text I ever sent you. Because I'm done. This bullshit over and over and over again, I'm so sick and tired of it. And you just don't understand. But that's fine. I'm used to being second place.
I tried and tried and tried, no matter all the times you lied. I cried and cried and cried, then took me late into the night. When I lost it, I lost it, I lost it again. And you're calling, I'm not shit, I'm off one again. If I'm honest, you were toxic, just to me you're dead. 'Cause I lost it all again. Can't go on without you. Too many memories put behind. I can't go on without you. I think I've been pushed to the side. Where'd you go? Where am I? Where are we? I'm all alone. You refuse to help me. We've been touched so long. It's 3:30. If I had one wish, it would be yours permanently. I tried late into the night. When I lost it again. You're calling, I'm not shit, I'm off one again. If I'm honest, you were toxic, just to me you're dead. 'Cause I lost it all again. Lost it all again. I lost it all again.
Oh, voicemail again. Classy, I like it.
I was thinking about you, but you were way too far away. Why'd you go away? I said, why'd you go away? I have nothing left to say. I have nothing left to say. I'm stuck in my ways. I said, I am on my way. I'm too lost, don't know what I'm on. Without you, I'm gone. I'm just way too numb. So I'm on the way. 100 missed calls from yesterday. So I contemplate picking up the phone and make another mistake. So gone in space. I don't think I'll be the same. Don't come back when I have fame. At least I'm left with you to blame. Honestly, can't you see what you've done to me? Like honestly, how could you move on from me? I proved you wrong, and I lost it all. Like when I left, I lost control. It's all your fault, I'm on my own. Tell me what's going on, what's in your head? I miss your voice, miss you in bed. Constant texts you left on red. I'll never see your face again. I'm too lost, don't know what I'm on. Without you, I'm gone. I'm just way too numb. So I'm on the way. 100 missed calls from yesterday. So I contemplate.
Welcome back into the Game Rogue $1,000 Cinco de Mayo tournament. I'm Tom Blake. Joined alongside me is Happy for our second round of 16 matchup for a spot in the quarterfinals. Another best of threes in front of us. It's the Silly Geese taking on the Not Weebs, who may very well be anyway. Happy as we move into this matchup and our second on the day. Any thoughts as we move forward?
Well, it's only that the competition will continue to get fiercer. That's something I'm looking forward to personally. We had a round of 16 matchup earlier today that I was on, and the difference between the action that we saw today and what we were watching yesterday was apparent as we're narrowing down the competition further and further, and we'll pull up the bracket just to let you see how much we are narrowing down said competition as it's getting slimmer and slimmer. Yet to confirm any teams in that next round, though, other than the Real Gods and 1HP, who had already been confirmed after we concluded our series between the Real Gods and Nocturnes earlier today. And so, those next 6 games will be decided within the next few hours as our round of 16 comes to a close and we really start to weed out the boys from the men.
If you didn't catch it, the Real Gods took on Nocturne's GG earlier on. You can go check out that match in the VOD. Or if you want the TLDR, it went between Theme Park and Oregon, 7-4 and 7-4 between the two maps. Fairly consistent showing for the Real Gods, which for some context is a combination of 2 Mexican Pro League teams, kind of like a scrim stack if 2 Pro League teams decided to play in a Tier 2 event and not have their full roster names under them.
Yeah, they had, I think most of it consisted of last season's Alpha Atheris roster. It's 3 of the current players on that team, one of them who was recently dropped from said team, and 1 member of Cruelty. But that's not the roster we're focusing on. We have a couple new teams to focus on here. It's Not Weebs, and they're going up against no slouches in and of themselves, as we have Not Weebs facing off against the Silly Geese. And the logos there are... apparently didn't have one for Silly Geese, but I like the Not Weebs one, to say the least.
I mean, we didn't have one for either of them, but we told Not Weebs to make it in Microsoft Paint, and they did. Obviously, pretty good handwriting there for whoever made that from Not Weebs. Some notable names on that squad, by the way. Dan3041, who everybody has at least watched on Twitch at one point or another. Frost, Sneaky, Power, and Rothermall. And on the Silly Geese squad, with the more Microsoft or Adobe Photoshop logo rather than Microsoft Paint, it's Gage, Uzi, TK, Cheese, and Corrupt.
Yeah, a lot of notable names across the server. A very good mix of names yet to prove themselves and people we have seen around. Personally, I've seen Corrupt and TK through the Tier 3 scene thus far, and the other names do strike me as familiar as well. And Dan, of course, the more notable one of the 5 on Not Weaves, but Frost, Sneaky, Power, and Rothermall here to prove themselves. They've already been able to secure a win in round number 1. So who's to say they can't get it done in round number 2 as well?
Yeah, this round number 2 matchup would put them into the quarterfinals and really set themselves up for a possible money match. You are not guaranteed cash if you get into the semis. You have to have a better round differential than the team that loses the other semifinal to get 3rd place. There's no 3rd place game. There's a little bit more of a condensed tournament. But for this matchup, we have a little bit to set the stage. The captains of both squads had an interview post-game of their previous matchup. We'll see what their thoughts are before we move forward.
So here I am with TK of Silly Geese coming hot off a match against Diffuser and Co. TK, how you doing? How was the match overall?
I'm good. Match was fun. It was very, very lopsided. A lot of stringed rounds together. A lot of momentum-based actions. It makes for good Siege to play. Fun Siege.
Yeah, and I saw that it went to a free mapper with lots of close rounds. Was there anything in the map ban phase that kind of led to this, or was it just kind of both teams were in a slugfest and that's just how the series went, just because that's how it was?
Well, not to leak or anything, but one of the maps we have actually, the last map we've scrimmed them on before, and we basically got smoked by them on that last map in the scrim. Not smoked, but they won the map or whatever. But so it was just the second map was their map. The first map was pretty straightforward. They couldn't attack, and we just cleaned it up. And second map, it was a lot of close rounds, but difficult map to attack. So it ended up being very defender-sided, as Skyscraper typically is. And of course, that was their map pick. And then last map, Slugfest. I mean, that's typically how Border plays out. It's very close. it could go either way. And it actually was pretty attacker-sided border thanks to my middle of the game pep talk around the I would say 2, 4, 6 rounds 8 or 9. Gave them a little pep talk. I didn't even call a timeout. I just gave them a pep talk, and there we strung together what was 4 attack rounds, and then closed it out with last defense. So.
Nice. All right. So was obviously lots of Siege being played and lots of close rounds given a scoreline. Was there anything surprising in what the opponent did, or was it all just kind of, box standard Siege in that sense?
Not really. I mean, there wasn't anything special that they did. I mean, there was no crazy plays that really happened. It was just a lot of trading, a lot of scrappy gunfights, stuff like that. The last map was very contingent on the intra game, where those after that little pep talk, we basically just got 3 kills at the start of every round on attack and shut them down pretty handedly. They sort of don't really change their play style up. Once if it's working or not working, they sort of stick with it. It seems to be they only really have one dimension, which of course ended up being their downfall.
All right. And so, what was your personal highlight of the match, if you have one? Obviously, that could be just
screaming. My personal highlight is, everybody's down in the dumps. A couple people 2 and 6. I got a teammate coughing up a lung. He's 3 and whatever. Blah blah blah. And I pulled everybody aside. Everybody deep breath. It's something I've done on other teams before. Just team dad type deal. Just, hey man, look at the scoreboard. Look at who we're playing. We are better than these guys. Let's prove what we're saying. Let's prove who we are, and we did. And we won a game that they thought they won. They were saying GG in chat. They were up 6-3, and they trolled it. And we proved we were better than them.
That you did. All right, TK. Thank you for your time, and best of luck going into the next round.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview. Have a wonderful night.
So here I am with Frost of Not Weebs, fresh off a win. First off, congrats on the win.
Thank you.
To get started, how do you think the match went?
I think it went pretty well.
Nice.
We were very consistent.
Okay. I know talking to, oh god, I'm blanking on his name, but your teammate, Rothermel, that you were coming into this with our strat is that we have no strats. How do you think that game plan worked out in practice? Obviously, it worked out well enough to win, but there's levels to this, right?
Yeah, because having Dan and Roth on the team, they're just gonna run in every time, right?
Yeah.
So what the job of me, Power, and Snecky to do is just stand back and then just let them make their space, and then we try to capitalize on that.
Nice. And so, were there any curveballs in the map bans or anything that the opponent did, or was it just kind of you guys executing your game plan and going from there?
We're really cool with playing any map. We usually just try to look for maps that are very gunfight heavy, so nothing really threw us off.
Sweet. And then just to close out here, was there a personal highlight, like a clip that you have that really stuck out in your mind, or something that the team did or a teammate managed to clutch up that really sticks out in your mind for this match?
No, I don't really think so. Usually the rounds we won were very just pretty dominant.
Okay.
If we lost a round, we lost a round. We never really got any clutches.
All right. And last thing, anything you want to say to the crowd, to the viewers, your friends, your opponents?
We play wild card if we win this next one, and I own JJ.
All right. You heard it here first, folks. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. No problem.
Welcome back in. As we move into our best of 3, you got the thoughts from the captains. Now let's take our thoughts for a few seconds as we really move into the nitty gritty. Obviously, looking back at previous matches, if you are at all curious, nor if you maybe didn't pay attention to the bracket, Silly Geese 2-1 to FMG, Not Weebs 2-0'd the washed old men. I melded a few words together there. But as we move forward, Happy, they now have to take on one another to most likely face the Wildcard Gaming Aces. There's a low chance Damascus Steel wins that game, but I would be real with you. I don't think Damascus Gaming is taking that.
Yeah, it's low for a reason because we don't consider it the best of chances. But hey, if they take it, that's just even more convincing reason to think that you're going up against a good team later because they beat a team as good as Wildcard Aces, a team that's got plenty of great results under their belt. But yeah, based on what I saw from them yesterday, Damascus looked good against what they had to play up against. But you can only look so good against another team of lesser known players, and when you compare anyone in that lobby to any one of the players on Wildcard, it's likely to see a little bit of a difference between the two. But something I do want to point out as well is that FMG, quite a solid team to beat along the way, as Silly Geese 2-1'd them. But that's a team featuring players like Kiru and Diffuser who have significant tier 3 results as of late. Kiru notably formerly being a member of that same Wildcard Aces roster we were just mentioning. And so it's a roster that has a couple big players on it, so Silly Geese convincing me at least by the results in the first round.
Yeah, some of these more short-term tournaments also make things difficult in terms of following names. If you're looking for organizations or specific Mexican Pro League players that happen to be playing together, then finding those same teams is a little bit more challenging, hence the reason taking a look at the rosters is a little bit more important. By the way, massive shout out to the Wikipedia people who basically keep me up to date on whatever the heck is happening across the board. Mostly Patrick, aka Pachisi, great dude, and the Wikipedia team as a whole. Pretty snazzy, but we've taken a look at who is playing, more in-depth look at it. Let's take a look at where they are indeed taking on one another as we move into our map picks and bans. First two off the board, Chalet and Sky. Pretty contrasting bands to start things off.
It is so hard to read the Not Weebs logo
Yeah,
on
I know,
these
right?
maps. I was like, Silly Geese banned that. Oh, that's not
banned the
Weebs.
second map.
We chose to take it off of the board. But yeah, so Chalet Sky taking off, Theme Park Bank as well. Oregon Clubhouse Villa is what we ended up with. This is just about as cookie cutter as you could get, unless you replaced Villa with maybe Cafe or Chalet. I'd probably contend Chalet is a bit more common than Villa, but still, this is very much a very, very oftenly picked set of maps for the 3 maps we will be seeing through this series, which makes sense because these are 2 teams that haven't necessarily been together for too long. It's more of a ranked stack type teams of oh hey, let's get together for this weekend tournament, and they haven't had significant results as full rosters, and so that kind of speaks to the fact that these guys, they haven't really been, well, I'm sure they've been scrimming, but they probably haven't been scrimming, prepping strats for too many complex maps. So we end up on maps like Oregon, like Clubhouse, and like Villa, the first of which we will go to, selected by Silly Geese, is going to be Oregon.
Can't say I'm too surprised about these bans or picks, to be completely honest with you. The one thing I have to say I'm a little bit upset about is I was supposed to cast the next game originally, but then I was like, nah, I'll produce for a little bit, and I'm casting this one. Granted, the 2 schools of thought with more normally played maps, sure, you may look at it and say, oh, I've seen this map 100 times. I know exactly what's going to happen. But you also have to remember, the players may be thinking something similar at a bare minimum. So, Oregon, Club, and Villa are tending to be somewhat closer maps. Now, there's the occasion where you have one team who's just mechanically dominant, has the strats they need, and just dusts their opponent. It happens. Not very often, but it happens nonetheless. Hopefully that's not the case here, because I'm going to be really upset if it does. Either way, we will move in. Silly Geese will start on the attacking side of the first map, as it is their selection. Not Weebs will start on the attack of Club, and Villa, I am not going to lie to you, I didn't check.
Yeah, it was picked by Silly Geese, so they were the ones who determined to go there. So Not Weebs get to pick their side. I'm assuming they go with defense, but I also did not quite see who's starting what end of it. But we just got to worry about Oregon for now. We might not even need to worry about Villa. I know you were mentioning you would love to not necessarily worry about Villa. You're hoping to cast it, of course, because you don't only get to be here for one game, and this is unfortunately the last game of the weekend I can do as well. So I'm hoping at least that we can see. Okay, thanks, man. You really made me feel quite good about it. I'm hoping we can see a competitive one to close out at least my Game Rogue casting for the weekend, and we're seeing relatively common bans for Oregon. Nook on Oregon is banned for some reason quite a lot. I would think that on a map that doesn't feel as though it has too many flank opportunities, it feels like Oregon's a little bit smaller, a little more compact. that Nook might not be so influential, but it also could be the reverse of that. Because there are so few opportunities, you don't want to give up anything. So you don't want to let that Nook in the back lines for free. Also, Ying and Azami taken up as well.
Ying, Nook, Azami, all fairly consistent bans. I like to take a look at the more in-depth operator statistics for anybody curious as to how many times each individual operator's been banned. We do have a little bit of a less large pool, considering these are only specifically streamed games where these stats are being tracked from, which, in the long story short, just means 3 best of 3s, not including this one. Ying has been banned 4 times, it's 66.7% of the time. Nook only once, which is 16.666 repeating percent of the time. And then both Azami and Solus, prior to this, were 4 times apiece, with the only other defensive bans being Mira, Cade, and Valkyrie, with Mira being twice over, Cade and Valk once apiece. If anybody's curious as to the other attacking bans that have come through elsewhere, Maverick and Osa once apiece, Dokebi twice, and Flores 3 times over. This is map number 7 on stream. And, well, a lot of bans are staying consistent.
Oh, very much so. That kind of just speaks to the meta. The defensive side, you see Solus and Azami. That's the most typical ban phase you'll see. Valkyrie makes her way in quite a lot as well. Mira, a little bit, depending on maps. Like Oregon, you could see a Mira taken off the board, but we don't see that here. And yeah, you're pointing out this is the 7th map we've seen, which does mean, for those of you who are thinking it through, wait a minute, 3 best of 3s, they've seen 6 maps. That means, yes, in your view, it does mean we are yet to see a 3rd map in any of the series we've watched so far, hoping this one can be a little different, because it's been a couple of early round games. I don't want to say they haven't been super competitive, but in the first round, you are just kind of worrying about getting the teams that are a little better forward before you're really focusing on seeing super competitive maps, before you're anticipating seeing maps that come really down to the wire, possibly need that 3rd map. Thus far, we haven't seen any maps necessitated, but this matchup does stand a pretty solid chance at getting into that map number 3, at least in my own humble opinion.
What's that to say? Seeing Dan3041's name, somebody has actually convinced the man to change from just Dan3041. That shows you some level of commitment to the Not Weebs squad. Maybe it's more of a long-term squad than just a pug stack for a tournament or 2. Love to see it. Nice little note from the Not Weebs camp. On the other side, Silly Geese, they have a similar note for the squad. I believe Gage and TK may be a little bit more temporary players. That, or they just can't change their names because they recently did so within the last month. Either way, as we move into our first round, no real outstanding selections. I think the most notable of all 10 operators is the Blitz. That's about it, to be completely honest with you. Everybody else is about stock standard, minus maybe the Valkyrie, because half the time she's banned.
Take it off the board quite a lot. See her here, and haven't seen much else. We can see what operators are being picked. We can see Silly Geese slowly taking control of the map as Not Weebs fall back, just barely avoiding any conflict. Sneaky might be the first one to find any conflict around the corners. He's just waiting for a swing out for barrels. C4 goes out. It lands on its mark, but not quite enough to get too much damage on the cheese, or at least not enough damage to knock him down or kill him. Barely still alive, but still alive all the same. And so, thanking his lucky stars, he's going to be still standing, as the shield is going to make it a lot harder to land that final shot onto him. As we close in on the last 50 seconds, and Silly Geese have to figure out where they want to focus this attack from, because it seems a little spread out for now.
There's a significant amount of delay utility still available. A C4, actually 2, one for Rothermel as well, and then still 1 Toxic Babe, with I believe 1 currently placed without actually being popped itself. Not Weebs have a long bit of time denial, but they don't know that there's a hold coming through the E-box hatch. She's looking to aggress again, has to be careful considering the damage done earlier. They check Iconic, but Dan31 there for the refrag, or the original frag, to hold things down. Shots across here for Cheese. They still have to be careful. The flash around the corner does land onto Pillar. They've yet to clear out that Jaeger. They finally do so, but with just 12 seconds left, they have to start to engage. Uzi finds a double with the Para in hand. Cheese there. No smoke babes left here for Power as they walk forward. They may very well be cleared, but as the diffuser goes down, the time's now against them. They will look to engage through Highway. A first kill looking for it will find that onto the low HP Uzi. A headshot would have done it anyway, but TK shuts him down long range, and the opening round goes the way of the attackers in the later stages in convincing fashion.
That attack felt like it should not have worked as well as it did because of the way they were set up right before they started to get in. They were so spread out. You had 2 focusing laundry, a Habana on a E-box hatch alone, and then 2 in blue. But eventually, they get everybody towards the same area. Uzi plays a massive role that I don't think he would have played should he have pushed towards laundry, which is what it looked like it was going to be for quite a while. He ended up towards pillar, got a double kill, and made a massive difference in that round. Not winning it for them alone, but just making things a lot easier because they would have had to work a lot harder if he had only gotten 1 kill and gone down, or if he had gotten 0. They would have had to work to try and trade out his death, and then they would have had more opponents to deal with if not Weebs had fragged out a little harder. Unfortunately, though, not Weebs, not quite expecting the right angles, and they just lose their heads-up gunfights. Silly Geese with an impressive attack to start us off. They take a long enough time to clear the map so that they are as methodical as possible and they don't miss anything, but they also don't take too long so they don't leave themselves enough time to push in.
Now to round 2, some notable changes coming through for Silly Geese. They are foregoing the decision to bring in that blitz this time around, running double hard breach as one would usually expect on the top floor. They're probably going to try and condense from Attic and Master, as everybody in the history of Oregon has done every single time on the top floor, minus a few brush attempts. Stan 3041 trying to get aggressive, attempted spawn peek, attempted follow-up, neither of them landing for damage or a kill, so instead he'll back away for the time being. It seems like a little bit more of a condensed hold for the Weebs this time around as well. The furthest away from the site is Rothermel, and they're on the white stairs, which is, I don't know, 4 meters from the site. It's not that much of an extension.
He could go prone and he'd pretty much be in the objective. So there is relatively no extension. White stairs isn't always a position you'll play for too late into the round. If people start to take control of areas like security, maybe freezer stairs, you're given 2 choices: get aggressive or fall back. Rothermel seems to be favoring aggression at the moment, as notices TK opening that white stairs window and tries to fight back on it by opening it up, or not even opening it up, but trying to open up the kills in the round with a frag for himself. But there's no extension into Master or Trophy, so Uzi just watching a hole, hoping nobody will swing through Closet. They have that control for free, but Rothermel is trying to extend a little bit off the objective, and Dan is as well, so not Weebs, hoping to come strike from the behind with maybe a little bit of a flank late into this round.
It was an impact that just landed onto Uzi, who's actually not safe right now, but I don't think knows that they've taken damage. Very close, but very far, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things. A 1-for-1 trade as Dan 3041 is removed on that attempted flank. The Selmas are also taken out, so that hold-up will still come through, and the swing from Sneaky will drop down the ace. The Selma, again, will be taken care of, and that hard breach ability significantly hindered on this attack, and Gage still has to worry about this bottom floor. Remember, we talked about Rothermel in the earlier stages. Nade coming through may actually be able to take out Sneaky, but no, it is a little too late. But Rothermel swinging from below does damage just the same. This is an odd position for Silly Geese to be in. A pincer maneuver set up by the defensive side. There goes Rothermel, easiest kill of their career. Looking for a follow-up. Nope, that's a return back in a 2v2 with 55 seconds.
Just 50 left to go as Uzi with a flash into Attic. Knows that Frost's likely going to be watching this Mira. Sneaky has to time this swing well and also hit the shot. Almost good timing, but misses the shot, but still able to hit the next one on Cheese. A clean headshot from the Mark 14 is going to leave just Uzi alone on the floor as 1v2. Good angle expected, only needs 1 bullet to do the job as well. And now has to look back into dorms because he knows it's going to be there, and Frost swings way too wide. And he'll advise to play from the Mira, gives second round to Silly Geese, keeps their win streak, and actually makes it a streak of rounds as they get number 2 with Not Weebs sitting at 0.
Unadvisable decision from Frost there. Not only did they have time in their favor, but the diffuser was down. It's not like they had to take that real estate back. They had the Mira in front of them. They had another over towards Attic. The extent of places they had to watch were the rotates next to both Black Mirrors and the actual door into kids' dorms. I'm not sure about that bit of aggression without direct information, and obviously Frost wasn't either, considering the fact they did so and then immediately died. Less than advisable, but Not Weebs can still very much come back from it. I think they need to play a little bit more aggressive on the defensive side, I'm not gonna lie to you. The earlier stages of rounds haven't gone their way because they've condensed so much. So if Silly Geese can just continually shut them down in those early stages, they're in a pretty good spot in the later halves. Not Weebs, there needs to be some level of recuperation because that previous round, you had it, then you didn't, then you had it again, and then for some reason you handed it over on a silver platter. I don't know if anybody here is a server, but, well, they know that's a pretty free round, to say the very least.
To be sure, Silly Geese take yet another as well. That one looking like Not Weebs had control most of the way through. Only to, as you had highlighted, kind of give it up at the very end. And I like the plays from Rothermel, but so why not double down on some aggressive plays towards the basement? A wonderful shot onto Uzi, and you shut down their top frag through these first 2 rounds. If I'm not mistaken, the one to make the clutch play last round, the one to make such a big difference in round number 1 as well, already off the board. No more Capital bolts for the remainder of the round, and that is a massive disadvantage for Silly Geese already.
They're continually running into problems in those later stages, but I mean, Not Weebs, this early frag is a big difference for them to start things off. I was talking about that aggression. They do indeed bring it forward, and they bring a kill as well. Some utility being removed, courtesy of the Rotero drones that go in towards dirt. They don't want to overcommit their utility too early on, considering they now lack some of it. Obviously, the Capital being gone is a small hindrance. But they still have the Twitch, they still have the Habana, and I think most importantly that Flores on the board. If they can combine some utility, and with more than half the round left, they can still very easily take this. They, however, have to find a couple kills to do so, and that man disadvantage is going to make your life so much more difficult, because Not Weebs, they found that kill, and they almost immediately disengaged in its entirety. The extent of control they have, well, backstairs and pillar. Everybody else, either directly on site or right next to it.
They don't have a lot to work with, Silly Geese. They have only 4 people alive as well. It's going to be difficult. Rotero drone not placed anywhere to get too much. I think it might have gotten some barbed wire, but otherwise not going to make a massive difference. Maybe he was looking to deal with a Flores canister, but that will be detonated soon after anyways by Dan. Hoping to hold pillar for as long as possible is Not Weebs. This is similar to the way they played last time on basement. They're falling off of any off-site presence very quickly because they're kind of just content to waste a lot of time, and especially this time because you have the advantage here. Now the goal for Silly Geese is just to try and pressure from as many different angles as possible, see if you can open it up with some kind of pick, and then work your way in from there. But they don't have a lot of time, and they might be too spread out to get this attack to work in the last 40 seconds.
It seems like a lot of patience for both teams, and Silly Geese, that's going to come back to bite them quicker than it will Not Weebs. But Gage has found an entry. Frost takes a decent bit of damage as they over-aggress over towards Freezer, and the shield only provides so much coverage. Silly Geese are enveloping the site. Freezer, backstairs, the meeting hatch, and a second over towards that same Freezer side. Laundry is foregone, but the kills not so much, as Corrupt brings in an all-important man advantage kill here for Silly Geese. Toxic Babes over top, no plant spot available, but Power in a 1 versus 4 is stuck inside of the supply closet. Cheese can rush forward and try and get that diffuser down, but doesn't even have to. The hold across from Gage finds the first and final kills for Silly Geese, and they string 3 back to back to back to open up Oregon.
It would seem that spreading out plays a lot more to Silly Geese's advantage than I'm giving them credit for, because that's the second time in a row they've had a very, very spread out setup that looks like they might not have enough oomph behind the push that they really want to focus on, which it has 2 times in a row, has been the push into the back site from Pillar, from E-Box, just trying to force your way into that back objective rather than towards Laundry. But 2 times in a row, it has worked. And how has it worked? Because they're getting everybody from those spread out positions of just looking for picks and then centralizing them at the very end of the round after they've wasted a lot of utility in different areas of the map and possibly found picks, even if they haven't been able to, though. They're factoring in just enough team play after they do a really good job shutting down any possible angles to make Not Weebs feel very uncomfortable. And then for the rest of the round, the pressure they had earlier acts as phantom pressure for later in the round because, oh, somebody might still be here. Somebody might still be Freezer. Somebody was Freezer. That was Gage. Nobody was in Laundry, though, but they were playing as though they were worried about it. And that's the key for Silly Geese so far. Spread yourselves out a lot. Leave phantom pressure at very different points in the map. Leave them guessing as to where you'll actually end up, and then all come together to converge on the site in a beautiful fashion.
Say 3rd time's the charm. 3rd round wasn't the charm for Not Weebs. Maybe the 3rd round on the bottom floor is the charm for them. It has to be if they want to find an entryway into this. TK, the real executor of these pushes, And they're changing a few things in the Not Weebs side. Don't get me wrong, there have been some operator switches, some recycled between different players, and setup switches just the same. But the problem is, they aren't changing enough to warrant continually attempting the bottom floor without either A, retrying the top floor, of which was fairly close, all things considered, or just trying meeting kitchen or kitchen dining for the first time. There's no real reason to try the same thing over and over again and expect that same or different result, depending on how much you do indeed change. But, you know, they're doing it anyway. We'll see how it works out for them. Still a minute into the round, and Not Weebs, this is the most aggressive passive setup I've ever seen. Where they have T3, they have T1, they're playing backstairs. They are basically fully dedicating themselves on the north side without directly taking gunfights nearly at all.
Yeah, but it looks like Silly Geese are going to be noticing the lack of presence on this site itself, and they could go for a direct take, as TK is going to drone in here and possibly notice that. Not Weebs have good mute jammer set up, so it's going to be hard to drone in and see that they are weak on the site itself. And so for those reasons, Silly Geese might take a while to notice the soft underbelly, so to speak, of the actual objective. But it looks like for now they're going to contently set up towards Laundry and not really contest all of the players inside of Tower, much to the dismay of Not Weebs, because that's why they were contesting so hard. They wanted to see if they could take any fights or take some control back, but Cheese has gone down so fast. A wonderful kill to start off the round with the Vector. Gage possibly looking to trade, but all he can do for now is pick up the diffuser and try and get back to his team.
I don't know if they've actually opened up the meeting hatch. Can we take a look over at that, considering that the Habana dying early, and now the follow-up onto Uzi, they do not have any hard breachability. Gage does bring one back, so to bare minimum, there is that refragability. Taking a look at the meeting hatch, it is indeed open, and TK's walking onto site. I'm sorry. A Legion Mine goes off as he's caught inside of E-Box. He gets swung from nowhere. There's every sound cue in the book, and he still loses the fight. Frost, gun up, aware of the possibility. Corrupt now walks through Laundry, but is caught out from Freezer, and no gun up for Rothermel as they're dropped just the same. A 1 versus 2 here for Gage as they walk up the Freezer stairs. They're looking to remove the top Freezer hatch control, and Dan3041 doesn't have his headphones on. A 1v1 for power as the drop comes through Freezer. Gage with the diffuser and 5 seconds to work with. Frost could be retrieved, but the swing from in front. Will the kill come through? Somehow Gage wins it! A 1v3 for the Iana, and Silly Geese will go undefeated through 4. Not Weebs are being torn apart on Oregon.
Oh no. Oh,
There's
he missed
no
it.
way.
He missed it. He missed the whole mag. That's heartbreaking. And power, the
At least he
mistake
knows
is,
it.
yeah. Self-awareness is the first stage to recovery, but I don't really know if there's much recovering that round. It's already gone the way of Silly Geese. There's nothing you can do now. But he looks into the rotate for a little bit, and then his teammate gets shot, and then he looks back, and he kind of doesn't, he just misses. Really well-timed peeks a little bit as well from Gage, because he just kind of swung a little bit, like kind of shoulder peeked to force out a lot of the shots from Power, and Power just spent his whole mag on that. Could still see a decent amount, but Gage did not really make it easy in that instance either. So a phenomenal 1v4 from Gage. Technically 1v4, more like 1v3 because one of them was downed. But honestly, who cares about the semantics? He made a phenomenal play, and credit to him. That's going to keep Silly Geese on their win streak of 4 rounds now. And the best Not Weebs can do on their defensive side to start Oregon is a 4-2 have in favor of the other team. That is a very, very rough start.
And the sequence of trades as well, I think, is the most wild part. Uzi walks in and gets dropped from Frost. Frost then dies to Corrupt. Corrupt walks through another goo mine, same that Uzi did, and then dies to the Valkyrie of Rothermel sitting inside a Freezer. Rothermel sprints into their own death. Gage then has the wherewithal to clear the top of Freezer hatch and then turn it into a follow-up kill as they aggress onto the previously downed player 20-odd seconds ago. Honestly, amazing game IQ. And Silly Geese, I'm going to say they deserved that round. Not Weebs, I'm not going to say deserved to lose, but they definitely did so in a chaotic fashion, to say the very least. C4 will go through. It does indeed miss. TK, good bit of a Matrix-level avoiding of the explosive to get tossed forward. I also don't know if Dan3041 has been cleared on the small tower. It may not matter, considering Frost dusts TK on the big window, but this could be a flank to worry about later if you are indeed Silly Geese.
look like, though, that Silly Geese are putting too much stock in said Bing window. They had one player there. He's dead now. That was your ace. Seems like a weird decision, but you just want the AK-12 over there, and you have an exothermic charges elsewhere, namely towards Master. You've broken open the Master closet into games, and Cheese has broken open the head of Sneaky, but Frost will trade it in kind and make sure that they don't remain at too big of a deficit. The Gemini replicator coming through. You could see that Power had a little bit of a heart attack there. Oh my goodness, he's just running into my objective. But Gage is just going to run straight through his objective, not get his Gemini shot, so he'll get it back up very soon and get intel us to everybody on the objective. And then Corrupt kills one of them. So phenomenal intel gaining with Dan with a C4 from below, leaving us out of a 2-on-2. But now it's only Power. He needs to make good on what he couldn't do last round, but he just swings too wide. And Corrupt will punish. Silly Geese get a very, very quick round that goes their way again, and they could be staring down the barrel of a 7-0.
I gotta say, an adequate pre-fire from a 417. I don't think I had that one on my Game Rogue Day 2 bingo card. Pre-fires, period, are difficult. With the DMR, you make it significantly more, and when somebody still walks into it, that's when you're looking at it and saying, what the heck did I just watch? The answer, another round for Silly Geese. They are now 5-0 here on Oregon and don't show any signs of slowing down. There have been some difficulties, to understate the obvious for not Weebs, but I think the most important part of it, I said it a few rounds ago, is the later round engagements. Their trade potential is sure there, but the information gathering to play around that on a more consistent basis just isn't, to be completely honest with you. They're having more problems than they can solve, they're running into more gunfights than they can take, and Silly Geese has been playing the trade potential / one-for-one refrag game nearly perfect past the first 30-45 seconds of the round, because for some reason they like to lose gunfights and yet still win rounds. I feel like this is Aerial Arise from Xenon last week.
They were we were on that game together. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
kind of doing that to an extent. That was just kind of very weird. It also feels like I was watching Penthouse last night as, Power wants to make me talk about something else, namely him going for an aggressive play, but somehow not punished for that, but also doesn't find anybody. A weird balance is struck there, but it ends up with nobody getting killed. So, I guess nothing really happens. Regardless of that, drone shot by Power, and he'll make his way back to the objective, and relatively high on health, as he just takes down Cheese, lowers his HP to 0, and now your only hard breach in this round is dead immediately. Irresponsible play from Cheese to take that fight so fast, and he will put Silly Geese at a very big deficit in no time at all.
Similar question to Silly Geese. Why switch off of the ace when there's no real requisite to do so? You had the Somas in the previous round, you coupled that alongside the Thermite and a couple different attempts on the top floor, yet for some reason you make the switch and then immediately, coincidentally, your hard breach, sole hard breach this time around, does indeed fall. Nice follow-up from Power. TK gets dusted, a little bit less on the reaction time shot there, but Power walking straight in the line of sight of Gage, of whom does not miss. Now their 8th kill, that's their first since the clutch, by the way. They did not frag in the previous round, but honestly, they didn't have to. It was a pretty quick one, to say the very least.
Yeah, it seems that when you take Power off the SMG-11, the shots are doing a bit better. They're landing on point, at least through this round. A couple of kills to open it up, and it looks very, very wide open for the taking for not Weebs at the moment. Good trade back from Gage, but again, you don't have a lot of util left. And Uzi's going to get that kill on a raw thermal, though. So, not a lot of util on the defensive side has been taken down, but they've lost 2 very big fraggers, 2 T5s that were there getting kills, or at least one of them was getting kills. One of them went down without putting up a single number on the board. And with a minute left to go, it's pretty much 3 entries, or mostly just fraggers, not necessarily always entries, as you don't want the Twitch to go in first, per se, but 3 more frag-oriented operators against 3 more util-based people on defense, but now you're going to take Dan out of the picture as he runs straight through the middle of the site and leaves it 3-on-2, 45 seconds. This is not looking great, but a good trade back from Frost.
At least one. Sneaky's also prone, sitting inside of the attic. They may try and play through this smoke. As it plumes, they will try to get aggressive. A C4 actually hits them, but as they walk forward, Uzi with the 5.52 will shut them down. Good patience, courtesy of the IQ, to just wait in the corner, and sprinting by them, their German foe, as they will find the final kill required and complete a perfect attacking half on Oregon.
Yeah.
Again, not in my bingo card.
Not a sentence that you say, really ever, as a caster. Maybe you say it if you're like playing a ranked game or watching a ranked game, because that's three attacking rounds. Maybe just one ranked team is better than the other. Maybe they got a Smurf. Who knows? Silly Geese seem to
What are you
have
talking
a
about this
team.
game?
Yeah, no, not necessarily. Just was about to say though, Silly Geese seem to have a team full of people who look like they are smurfing, because while they are putting up numbers, Corrupt at 9-3, Gage at 8-4, Uzi at 7-4, TK and Cheese have been more support oriented, I want to say. So far, I mean, it's showing on defense, at least with Cheese picking up smoke. He was playing a lot of Thermite, and so, you don't really need a massive number of frags from those players, and also you don't need anything more because you just won every round. Like, we can't really nitpick them in this instance. Everybody doing their job and doing it well enough to the point where they have yet to make a fatal mistake, and it has worked out to the tune of a 6-0 lead. One defensive site needed to possibly send this one to map 2.
I think Dan3041's been playing a chill the heck out level impossible, because in seemingly every single round, Weebs have over-aggressed in some way, shape, or form. Gage is also casually walking into small tower. Will be swung, but will win the fight anyway because it's a P10 at close range with a 1.5 on it. Kind of a gross combination. Looking for a follow-up. We'll find that as well. Sneaky just got dusted. Gage has now hit double digits, but finally they will be shut down. 2-for-1 trade, though, you're going to take that. Dokebi and Lion off the board. You leave a Fragger, a Hard Breach, and your Roam clearance, of which there's not all that much to do, with 2 minutes and 20 seconds in the round, and some way, shape, or form, Weebs are now directly off-site.
Why do I feel like they're kind of rushing it in this instance? They get one kill, they're down to players, and now they're trying to run into Freezer. They're not really putting too much stock in anything else. The X-Kairos that are being shot at the window are being shot off by Corrupt right afterwards. Dan pushing up to try and make an aggressive play, but Corrupt is around the corner and one on the mirror window as well, so they should be able to trade at least, but Dan gets a kill, and it's not punished? We're just not swinging that Cheese. He's just way too passive. And now one in the corner can at least chuck a Toxic Babe in there to force the swing out and then possibly get that next kill. There's another one. He really wants the frag, but he doesn't get it. Oh no, tragedy strikes for Silly Geese. And now with half the round left to go, Weebs might just be pulling this back.
Very rarely, TK swings, but into a Gemini replicator. Cheese with that re-swing, though, finds a follow-up. Isn't aware that Dan3041 was looking for that drop as well. Uzi, looking to drop in through Freezer, actually picks up the kill back onto Dan3041. Their ace potential now gone. And a 1v2 for Rothermel picks up one, but the immediate refrag is there. And Silly Geese, 7-0 on Oregon. Wow.
We wanted a close one. We didn't get a close one, at least for the first map, we did not, as Gage with a phenomenal map performance and everybody else is doing their job as well. Unfortunately, it just was not meant to be in that instance for Weebs, and safe to say it wasn't just not meant to be, it also just looked like they were a little worse for wear.
That was concerning. That's where I'm going to go with that one. There were a few different instances where you're looking at the team of Weebs and saying, what's going on there? Obviously, number one was over-aggressing when they just didn't have to. Their defensive side got 6-0'd. They as a whole got 7-0'd, but I want to take a little bit more in-depth look at their defense. Yeah. Remember that 3v3 where they were in a 5v3 but just kept swinging seemingly every single gunfight possible? Somebody needed to give them a Xanax. Just chill. Take a chill pill of some kind, because Dan3041 unnecessarily running across sites, taking a gunfight you don't have to around Trophy, and then looking for a re-swing around White Stairs, and then walking through a smoke in a 1v2. All things that belong under the column of things you shouldn't do when you had the man advantage just 30 seconds ago, and Weebs really need to take that into account as we move into club.
Yeah, namely as well, the re-swing of Kitchen in particular after, Legion was really just feeling himself running around. Power had a rough game up until that point, was really happy to get some kills on the board, and then again just over-aggresses, and that kind of tells the story of that entire round. Everybody did that on a consistent basis, just making way too many aggressive plays. There was also that one time in round 2 where the Mira, I believe it was Frost, ran out through an open impact hole after his teammate had just been killed right near that impact hole, and so, naturally he could still be watching that and could very easily see you, but he must have been expecting that final player, who I believe was Uzi in that instance, to go much further forward didn't happen, and well, got punished as a result because of that. But yeah, like you said, just generally across the board, a lacking game from Not Weebs, in large part due to the fact they just did not know how to slow it down. They're gonna have to do that once we get into Clubhouse, because it's gonna be a very different map.
This is a concerning showing as well for Not Weebs, because you're looking at it and saying it's not only the defensive side. Their attack wasn't great, but they actually did show signs of life in the later stages. The problem was, again, trade potential. They just could not consistently bring trades in their favor when they really needed to. We saw that when they had man advantages, when they had opening kills, sometimes doubled opening kills, when Power would find a casual two-piece on the Legion, but then they over-aggressed. A teammate over-aggressed at the bottom of Laundry Stairs, and then they decided to re-swing everything inside of the site when they weren't actually being directly pressured. I'm going back to the same round just to really nitpick. But at this point, Not Weebs kind of need that. I believe we're going to get stats when we return from the break, so we're going to take a break. And when we come back, Clubhouse as we move forward.
So what about us? We've been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Let the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. We gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. Got your beer till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we could get it in, don't move on. Move on, don't move on. Put me on blast, one side of the story. You don't wanna hear me out, cause you loving the glory. Thought I saw your true colors, but my vision was blurry. Forever lasts forever, but you left in a hurry. Say you wanna get drunk, make love. I just wanna take drugs, have fun. Put your body in a Maybach and Ralph Lauren. We could get wild, we don't gotta stay boring. Summer so sweet, California. Cause girl, you know me and I adore ya. We could make peace, don't make me more ya. You may be evil, but I adore ya. So what about us? We've been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Let the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. We gon' have fun. So what about trust? Went from riding in the biz, now I'm riding with my friends, now it's all gone. Got your beer till the end, no more seeing you again, you've been so wrong. I don't know where you been, baby, we could get it in, don't move on. Move on, don't move on. I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey, wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Oh, I saw you fucked it up. Ever since you left, all I knew was to run my money up. And now you see I'm coming up. Got it on my own. I was down bad on my ass, and I can't find a happy home. Yeah, yeah. Promise I won't bother you. No sense ain't calling you. Don't know why I would fall for you. I should have offered you. Baby, I can't talk to you. I'm just not comfortable. Baby,
meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey wow. I'm zoning, I'm spaced. I'll take these meds to the face now. Drink till I black. Hear your voice with the hey wow. I just made it, you never thought I could do it, proved you wrong. Countless fucking reasons we ain't get along. Still looking at my page, but don't hit my phone. Bitch, I did it, I'm at the top. She was at the after party, so she is an afterthought. We was traveling all around the globe, and I know you wish you still stuck around, oh no.
Honestly, if you want to continue to be petty like this, go for it. Keep ignoring my calls. Keep denying every single text I have ever sent you. Because I'm done. This bullshit over and over and over again. I'm so sick and tired of it. And you just don't understand. But that's fine. I'm used to being second place.
I tried and tried and tried, no matter all the times you lied. I cried and cried and cried, that took me late into the night. When I lost it, I lost it, I lost it again. And you're calling, I'm not shit, I'm off one again. If I'm honest, you were toxic, just to me you're dead. 'Cause I lost it all again. Can't go on without you. Too many memories put behind. I can't go on without you. I think I've been pushed to the side. Where'd you go? Where am I? Where are we? I'm all alone. You refuse to help me. We've been touched so long. It's 3:30. If I had one wish, it would be yours permanently. I tried late into the night. When I lost it, I lost it again. You're calling, I'm not shit, I'm off one again. If I'm honest, you were toxic, just to me you're dead. 'Cause I lost it all again. Lost it all again. I lost it all again.
Oh, voicemail again. Classy, I like it.
I was thinking about you, but you were way too far away. Why'd you go away? I said, why'd you go away? I have nothing left to say. I have nothing left to say.
So here I am with Fatal of the Real Gods, right off a win against Nocturnes. Fatal, first off, congratulations on the win. Very well played. How are you feeling right now?
Thank you. I'm feeling very confident. I'm very grateful for my teammates. And I feel like we're doing very good.
Yeah, how do you think the matches went overall? Because this was a pretty strong theme park from you guys, but it was also a very strong Oregon. You know, you guys showed a real aggression, and it really worked out in your favor. So how do you think it went in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it went like good. I think we threw a few rounds, but we were doing good.
Were there any curveballs in the map pool, or was it kind of what you were expecting going into it?
We played like some new maps. We don't have like any good maps. Like we don't used to play Theme Park or Oregon.
Okay.
But yeah, we just go on that maps.
You just went on new maps and won them. All right, you know.
Yeah, we were trying to to try like new things, you know?
Experiment, yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything surprising that your opponent did, or was everything that they did kind of within your expectations going into the match?
Uh, we were expecting them to play like that.
Okay.
So yeah, we just we don't have any issues with that.
Okay. And then last question here. What do you think was the biggest play of the match, and is there anything that you'd like to say to your fans or opponents after this?
Uh, yeah, I think it was probably maybe Mutumbo with Amaru. It was a good play. It was a
Yeah.
good start. He got like 2 first pick, I think. So
Yeah,
yeah, it
it was
was a
pretty
good
good.
play. And so for the fans, just I don't know, keep watching, and we're doing the best.
All right. Thank you for your time, Fatal. Best of luck in the next one.
Thank you.
I'm stuck in my ways.
A map of all time. We'll call Oregon that to say the very least. 7-0 to kick things away. The Silly Geese, I believe, were just in a silly, goofy mood and want to go do something else. Maybe play in a quarterfinals matchup to come. But we still have club before that. Let's take a look at our stats. I'm Time Late, joined alongside me is Happy. I don't think there's going to be too many surprises. And wow, there's not.
No, really none to speak of. Perhaps the most surprising thing to me is the fact that Frost was even like somewhat shown as competent with the rating. He very competent player in his own right, but during that game, I was honestly anticipating the rating giving the impression that this was not really much of a competitive game at all, because it wasn't really. But it looks a lot more competitive than you would have expected. Perhaps the 7-0 could have been maybe 7-1, perhaps 2. Between 3 of the 7 entry picks, a player who's almost was at even and nobody really doing significantly worse than anybody else. Honestly, I could have seen 1 or 2 rounds going the way of Not Weebs based on just the scoreboard and also based on watching that game. Definitely a couple of rounds that could have gone either way, but the Silly Geese were just generally better at converting when they started off rounds better, and when they didn't start off rounds too well, they were much, much better at recovering and taking advantage of the opportunities that Not Weebs were giving them, of which there were many, due to significant over-aggressions from time to time from NW. The biggest mistake we noticed in the last map, they will need to shore up as we head into Clubhouse.
A casual 5v3 comes to mind, to say the very least. I think over-aggression for Not Weebs is really what came back to bite them. Also, some fun stats. That 71% cost you see for Silly Geese for every single one of their players is not a typo. That is an actual number that is correctly linked, and everything is actually correct in the sheet. I actually wanted to make sure just to see if that was correct. It is. Every single player had a 71% kill, objective, survival, or trade potential or percentage through. As we move in, though, Clubhouse is our second map. Now, when I took an initial look at this matchup, I said I'm actually excited for this because the more conventional maps lead to generally closer matches. That was not the case in map 1.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, that couldn't have been further from the truth. And we normally think that because, it's 2 teams who are relatively inexperienced in terms of how long they've been together, at least on paper. Looks like Philly Geese, though, have been together quite some time, and Not Weaves probably as well. I mean, they've all got the NW tags. Clearly, these are 2 teams that are putting a lot of stock into these stacks in and of themselves, but one of them looked significantly better on Oregon. Definitely need to go back to the drawing board with that one for Not Weebs, because Oregon is a map that you have to have down if you want to get anywhere in Tier 3. Very commonly, it is a best of 1 map you play. It isn't really a map that you can afford to give up by banning it, because then you give the opportunity for the other team to possibly end up on some niche maps that they're great at, and you're even less prepared for, because you should be more prepared for that than Oregon. I cannot express enough how much you need to have in Oregon to exist in Tier 3 NA, and they really just didn't have much of any Oregon at all, and they played defense first. They just didn't look right. We get into Clubhouse, hopefully things will be better. Ying Nook taken off the board, same bans as last map. Maybe they'll be able to get on the board. That's the whole goal for now for Not Weebs. Get around. Show that you're here.
Interestingly enough, these are actually the same ban orders as well. Mira will be removed, difference compared to our previous map. It was Azami Solus in the previous map, I believe, not Weebs removing the Mira. Should leave Azami to be removed and the Solus maybe to stick through. It depends on how much Silly Geese wants to actually play up against that Azami or Solus. It's up to them, in all fairness. Last time around they banned the Azami. This time, it's the Solus to be removed. So Azami will see some play for only the second time on stream thus far. Solus, El Bozo.
Unfortunately, simply was not skilled enough to make it into this game, as the Mira taken off of the board by Not Weebs is something that I particularly found interesting because it was something they incorporated into their strategies a ton on Oregon, and it's less powerful typically by most conventional standards on this map. So you don't ban it on Oregon because you're starting defense and you have so many Mira setups. But maybe coming to this map, you really just don't like the Mira, and even if you have Mira setups, you used them a lot last map and you didn't win a lot on last map. So maybe you just want to completely change something up, and hopefully they're hoping, at least, that will throw Silly Geese off guard. Perhaps they were expecting to play this with a Mira, but I don't really think Nut Weebs are going to be expecting this team composition because it is very much a wild composition of operators.
Interesting to say the very least. Gage playing on the Mozzie isn't the most outlandish thing I've seen. Granted, in the one round we've seen Silly Geese play defense, Gage found a double on the Mozzie, so I don't know, that may be the most sensible thing I've ever seen. Also,
Yeah.
Interesting setup to see how aggressive they're playing. I've seen some of this before. Opening up the... Well, actually, leaving the kitchen hatch soft usually isn't the case, but opening Memorial is sometimes a play, and you usually couple a castle alongside that just to have a safety net to get out of dodge should you need it. But this is mainly Silly Geese trying to play more around aggression and holding down real estate to force Not Weebs to clear them and take forever and a day to do so, rather than merely trying to play for that aggression. Dan3041 does note the fact that the hatch is open. Also may very well see the hold coming across from Billiards. But Uzi, as they may very well have been misdroned, looking to hold this and possibly pick up the kill. They are being swung, but as they look away, they may very well die because of it. Dan3041 does pick up one, but I don't know if they're aware the Legion is still in that same general vicinity, mainly because they're not anymore.
And the man opening up the round in a big way and shutting down Uzi fast. And this team's composition very much relied upon the roamers having a big impact. Gage, TK, Uzi playing very much off of the objective. Even Corrupt and Cheese could possibly flex, though Corrupt and Cheese likely going to be the ones on the objective, especially now as we get later into the round. And they are on the site itself, but the hatch is open, but the nade missed. But Frost is still going to kill Gage, so not all bad from the Yana through this round, at least at this point. And Dan is dropped into Moto and could just walk in and get Church for free. Not quite for free, though, as there is a rotate hole to watch his entry in. But a 3-on-5 where you're forfeiting a ton of control over the attackers because you tried to roam and it failed. This looks like a round for Not Weebs, the first one we have seen all day, as they land themselves into 2-on-5 Silly Geese to dig themselves out of. And it's going to get a little better with that kill from Cheese.
This is still certainly possible here for Not Weebs. Does the wild caster curse come through in a 5 versus 2? We've seen 5v3s come back from, and TK finds a follow-up and can get out of dodge with their life still almost fully intact. 3v2s still possible here for Silly Geese, but Not Weebs retaining the man advantage for the time being. Kitchen hatch will be opened up. They will try and take care of the X-Kairos. They will do so onto one, but the other should be able to open up the hatch enough to find an entryway forward. 45 seconds. That Vulcan canister will deny 20 of those, at least over towards the bar corridor. But at this point, Silly Geese, time significantly becoming a factor in their chances of winning this round, especially with the prone Cheese Vulcan canister. They're just holding.
I don't think he's going to be ready for Cheese on that angle, but Cheese walks away. They might have gotten good intel, and that's a mistake. Cheese misplays, unfortunately, goes down. And now TK, alone against the mob, has one kill on them. Wants to try and break the Vulcan canister, but gets shut down from behind as soon as he sees someone in front. Power drops the hatch at a perfect time. Couldn't have played it better in that instance. Although that Weebs on a whole could have played the 2v5 better. They win the round. That's all that matters. 1 on the scoreboard for them for the first time today. That is a massive thing to get out of the way. And that should give you a lot more confidence coming into this map, especially as it is the one you chose to go to.
You know, they say baby steps are always a good indicator because the firsts are always the most difficult. Not Weebs, at least picking up their first in terms of rounds, maybe not steps. I'm pretty sure all of them can competently walk. But Silly Geese still having more than a horse in this race. We'll see a Frost coming through for the first time in this series. And Sneaky, ever the comedian, says, quote, more than last game. With the sunglasses emoji.
He's doing
on
our job
face.
for us.
Honestly, I was going to say it, but
I already said it, I think. No, I kind of,
Yeah.
I didn't say it directly, but you get the
Yeah.
idea. Notweave's finally able to do something, and it seems that Sneaky is going to steal my job within the coming days. But regardless of that, Notweaves starting off attacking round to start off as well. That's a big one to point out because in most instances, a 4-2 half to the defense on Clubhouse would kind of be considered the standard, though 3 threes and 5 ones are not too far out of the norm, though it does also depend on what teams you're looking at. And looking at these two squads, I think Notweaves are just happy they got one at all. They just get on the board, establish that control, and make Silly Geese sweat just a little bit, as they now have to switch their objectives and switch their objective on the whole from trying to make as big of a own presence as possible and taking those gunfights to playing a bit more reserved, a bit more intelligently, because you know that Notweaves are really here to fight, and they are actually starting to put up a fight, at least on Clubhouse.
again, Dan3041, worried about that possible level of verticality. TK trying to go 1-for-1 in terms of shots with a Mark 14, of which does a significantly higher base damage mark at 60 meters than a 9x9 VSN. I believe the exact number is about 54 meters, but, you know, we'll not get nitpicky around here. It's very weird to see Silly Geese try and play this level of aggression, though. Not outlandish again for them, because we've seen them do it before, granted only in one round back on Oregon. But they can be caught out here, and the early damage that TK's taken, well, the R4C, very competent weapon in its own right, and a single shot to anywhere in the body will easily take away that final 8 HP.
And it's Dan as well piloting that gun, who got 2 very big kills in last round, one to open and one to continue the seeming dominance that Notweebs had through the round. Silly Geese this time, not aware he's coming up the staircase. Barcam was already taken down, and now TK, much like Barcam, is taken down. She's losing a lot of health, and Rothermill's just running into the site, but he's abandoned the diffuser in a really bad spot. Corrupt takes that frag, and now, with Dan knocked down, things look a little sketchy for Notweebs, but a good trade back from Sneaky. That's traded out, though, by Gage, as Corrupt, getting shot at from the window, needs to watch every angle, but a 2-on-2 as they get closer to the site. Power finished off as well. It's really only down to one more, and he dies in logistics. Gage with a run out to get one, hops back in, gets the second. What a shot that was as well. And Silly Geese even things back out.
TK and all chat. Get a life with an expletive somewhere in the middle of that. Also, I think for the first time I've ever seen a round end with the correct kill cam when there was a down included. You know how that happens where there's a down and then the round ends and then you look at somebody random? It turns out it's literally just a coin flip shot. So if you have all 5 players alive, you have a 20% chance of being on the correct person. In that case, Silly Geese only had 2 players alive, so it was 50-50. The game chose correctly. Love when that happens. Also a little bit of a shorter kill feed. That's a little thing that some people may not notice, but it's more of a game engine thing than a more stats or specific technical thing. Either way, Silly Geese pick up the top floor and we'll head back to the bottom. CCTV... Oh my goodness. Did you... Oh, I would say look at all chat, but...
I just saw I'm His Life, and then I think I missed the...
Think about how that's in context with what was said prior.
Yeah, get a...
Yes.
Get
a beep. I can be your beeper.
Okay.
There we go. I'm His Life.
Yeah.
There's some insinuation there. I'll let you all connect the dots on your own.
Yeah. All right.
Is Gage just gonna dust Dan? Please do
Oh.
it. Oh, no.
Oh,
Dan
nearly.
did survive the
Dan,
first
don't
one. Second attempt.
I don't like where Gage is, but I don't really know if I love where Dan is either, because he's fighting against Gage, and that was something that went really badly pretty much every time someone tried it last round. Doesn't go as poorly to start this round off, at least not for any of them. And they actually get a kill, though TK got Rothermill down, a 4-on-4, but Corrupt is in Oil Pit to trade out his teammate. Well, that's one of those kind of, I was talking about it with Light Rose yesterday. Schrodinger's strategy. If it works, it's genius. If it fails, it's a terrible idea. playing Oil Pit there for a trade, that's one of those. If that had gone poorly, I probably would have said it's a questionable decision, but it worked. So, they're a genius.
Schrodinger's genius. Or Schrodinger's strategy. I like it.
The credit V
Look
for
up
that one,
Schrodinger's
not me.
cat.
That's not me.
Schrodinger's cat, that's the Google search for all of you who may be concerned as to where the heck that inference came from. Uzi finds one and is able to back away. This is the strat. You drop down the gym hatch, you drop down the memorial hatch, you get back to site with at least some semblance of health remaining, and not Weebs now have to pull a silly Geese. 2 or 3v(x). This time around it's the 2v4. And this one looks significantly more difficult. Granted, there are still caveats. They can open up the hatch, they can get a way in, and the Type 89 alongside the Mark 14 are not bad weapons by any means. The problem is the extent of your utility is, well, the X-Kairos pellets, of which you have all of them, and 2 impact EMPs alongside those flashbangs. Not the greatest of holds, tactically, to say the very least.
Geese actually wants to try and take the initiative to the fights and wants to actually take the initiative in and of himself. Take the fight to the players inside of bar and kitchen respectively. It's sneaky and power alone. Just trying to get some intel on the objective for now. Tossing drones out, looking around and checking angles, but Corrupt checks the angle that Power's holding and gets a very nice kill. Sneaky's been C4'd from below, so Chi is actually just running up to gather the intel on who's at the top of the staircase, so that once they show face, he can shut them down. Get a very clean round there for Silly Geese. Not Weebs this time, taking 1 round to start off the map, but Silly Geese hopefully getting back on their round win streak, or at least they are hoping they'll get back on that type of gameplay and continue the streak they've already got here.
I like the school of thought there for Silly Geese. Try what we tried in rounds prior. Small adjustments were really all that was required. And the massive change that was there, remember, round 1 they were in a 2 versus 5, of which they did bring back to a 1v2, and it was certainly possible for them to win. But that time around, it was a 4v2 in the first minute and a half, and then they just disengaged. They found that adequate early fragging they needed, and then just backed away. The changes that were needed were indeed found, and now as they move up to CCTV cache, they'll try and take this one on worth a grain of salt if they can. Cade on the board, I think, is the most notable of the selections. Thatcher is not banned, nor has he in any game thus far that's been streamed. In Game Rogue, I believe he's only been banned 1 map in Xenon as well, so very few times do you see the SAS operator removed. But, I mean, Thatcher really just hindered because of that, unless you try a Cade trick, and then in that case you may actually be able to find it.
Well, Silly Geese now looking for the full site rotation as they got to move on their final objective. They go back to the top floor with it because the bar is, it feels like it's either like someone's favorite site or they just don't run it. Like, I feel like it's never like a tertiary for some reason. Like, people either love the bar and they run it like as one of their main 2 sites, or you just don't see them play it. And Silly Geese are one of those teams that is more common, just not going to the bar at all. These sites have been more traditionally viable for a long time, and Uzi with maybe not a traditionally viable strategy there, but the aggression's been working well at times for Silly Geese when they've got it toned down well enough. TK shoots 1 bullet and headshots Dan. God only knows how that happened, but a wonderful shot, I'm sure. And now he's even lower on HP than he was at the start, but Dan is lowered 6 feet into his grave, and it's a 1-kill advantage to Silly Geese.
The one that can quickly be brought back, Frost, aware of the feet holes, will now look to play off the back of it and drone himself in. Who knew you can use utility to find information in Rainbow Six Siege? Not like it's a core part of the game or anything. Not Weebs trying to turn that into functional fragging power. The problem is a very one-dimensional push is in front of them. They do have that Thatcher on the board, but they're only running the ace, so easy Cade tricks are now certainly possible. Attempt now coming through as they want to try and set up that hold across towards the single wall. First Selma will go off, the second one will be caught with the Electroclaw and broken, as you just heard. There's still possibilities for them to reopen should they want to. The problem is, I said it's a one-dimensional take, I'm going to stick by that. They're doing a whole lot of nothing except for on the AC window and the construction door. The former of the two, they die from. Actually, the construction window is where they fell. Nice shot from TK.
Very clean shot indeed, and once again, the attacker's stuck in a 2-on-4 scenario that looks just about as unwinnable as the last, and the chances aren't going to get much better, as Power doesn't quite get that kill on the Cheese, now giving away that he's up there. Sneaky wants to try and be a little sneaky, make good on his name, and possibly send himself elsewhere, but Angle's being watched for, as one player at the bottom of red is almost going to take the Thatcher down to 0 HP. Well swung, but Uzi still has control of this angle. And there's a Kiba here as well. Very nicely paced Kiba. Down to 1 HP is sneaky, but now one shot is more than good enough to take that kill onto Uzi, and one more back from Power. We could be looking at a very big change of pace here, as a 2-on-2 isn't impossible. The Weebs are going to make it tough, but it's still in the realm of possibility with 20 to go.
TK watching their back, just aware of the possibility that Red Stairs is encroachable. As they now aggress forward, they will find the kill there, and Gage covering their rear. I got your 6, he says, through a punch hole no less. And it is indeed another round for Silly Geese, going up 2 and finding their third CCTV cache, ever so clean for the defensive side.
Phenomenal defense there from Silly Geese, making great use of those Kiba barriers as well. They don't allow the main wall to get opened up at all, and then when you're pushing in the backside, the main issue about it is that if you only have presence on, like you had pointed out, AC window and inside of construction, even if you are able to open up that construction wall, which I don't think they were so fortunate as to be able to, either that or Kiba barriers made it pretty much rendered it unusable. But still, they didn't even get it open. So they had a doorway, a window, and then tried to exert pressure elsewhere. It didn't look too bad when they took the initial gunfights, but once the push came through, they were very predictable in where they were ending that round. Nobody had to really worry about the garage play, because once you can hear coming up red, you know that it's not going to be the garage, because there was one player underneath, and one player was still towards construction. So you know one angle for sure is going to just be a doorway or a window. You can watch both of those from garage rafters. And because there's no pressure on garage, that's relatively easy and simple. As plain as that, Silly Geese are able to take yet another round with the help of very good opening picks and a very well set up defense by the Azami.
The lack of an Azami ban now coming back to bite not Weebs. Granted, they were not the ones to ban her in map number 1. They probably should have been here in map number 2. Uzi trying to set up that far peek from a distance. Sneaky playing with a PVC pipe to protect them. Second attempt from TK to win this fight. Somehow, Sneaky doesn't get hit. He's totally typing in all chat. Yeah. I give up, he says. And then he goes back for more. Liar. Caught in 1080p.
Tough. Sneaky's trying to rub it in a little bit, you would seem. But TK and Sneaky seemingly a battle that will continue until the end of time or this map. If TK does not select Dokkaebi and go to that exact area, then he is a stronger man than me, because I know that I would be doing the exact same thing once I'm on my attacking half, at least if I'm attacking this objective. But regardless of small little petty fights that are going to definitely mount and create some more tension between these two squads. Oh no, Sneaky shot Frost in the back of the head. That was not the player he was hoping to kill. He was hoping that'd be TK, but Gage is honestly not that bad of a substitute after killing his teammate. 1 minute and 30 to go, and not Weebs don't look too bad right now.
That's hilarious. I love how Sneaky, the first head they hit in the round is their teammates.
Not TK.
Granted, they at least brought out Frost with the Selmas before they fell. So there is a caveat to the conversation. Uzi not cleared out of logistics just yet, now actually looking to play aggressive. They do still have to worry about construction, as that is still held. Nice toss over. Cheese lobs the C4, and Power receives, much to their own dismay. The diffuser dropped on that far side, but Dan just walking in with the ARX no less, but it is taken care of. Uzi finds a double. Cheese with the final, and a cleanup there for the Silly Geese. Again, a defensive round, and not Weebs having troubles late.
They did one round this time, and then it would seem the same fate has accursed them, just not really able to get much started. This is their attacking half, so I suppose you could say maybe they're just a bit more well prepared for defense, but it has looked very uninspiring, concerningly so, over the past few rounds since they started off relatively strong. And notice how that was the one round the Silly Geese played very differently than the way they played the rest of them. They were very aggressive, they were taking a ton of fights, and they played a roam-heavy strategy. now they've been playing more hold up in the objective, and not Weebs haven't really been able to take advantage of roam clears. It would seem that they're quite good on clearing structured roams when a lot of people are off of the site in similar areas, because they've got good coordination and team cohesion, but not cohesive enough late in the rounds, and possibly not leaving themselves enough time, though that's not fully the issue. They've had a decent amount of time when they're pushing into the objectives. Most of the time, it's just been they just don't have enough intel on the players on the site. They can get kills, but they're traded, and they're not getting enough kills for it to make a big impact on the site's defenders.
Seems like the site's defenders aren't even on the site half the time as well, considering how Silly Geese has played in few of these rounds. By the way, heading back to the bottom floor, you can see some of the switch-ups made by Not Weebs. They are, again, only running a single hard breach. Surprisingly enough, not the Habana, which I'm kind of concerned about, considering Dirt is reinforced, as are, as far as I'm aware, all 3 of the hatches. Couple that alongside the fact there's Electro Claws and only 2 Impact EMPs to contend with them. There may very well be more problems than can be solved for Not Weebs' attack, especially with now your Ash falling. Gage finds the opener, catching him off as they walk in through the garage single, and Silly Geese find an open and kill. Another one here in the later stages of Club, and Not Weebs having more problems than they can solve in yet another round. Dan 3041 switching to the G36C, but still only taking damage.
Been an unusually quiet start for a lot of members of Not Weebs, but how on earth is Gage giving himself up like that? Dan with another kill, making it 7-5. I was about to say, it's been a very quiet start for everybody save for Dan, who's been coming alive in the server, and Sneaky, who's been coming alive in the chat, but that's a different kind of quiet that he isn't quite. But for everybody other than Dan, it's been, in terms of scoreboard at least, relatively slow to start. There have been performances here and there in terms of solid rounds, but Dan is really the only one who's consistently showing up with solid picks. Does it again to bring it back to even. Is that going to be nearly enough? Might have to fight very hard for blue control, or fight down main stairs, not exactly sure, but right now this defense is heavily relied upon Dirt, which isn't really being pushed at all. Good phantom pressure from Not Weebs, but are they going to take advantage of that possible opportunity elsewhere because of so much pressure being put on Dirt? Oh, they've missed the impact.
There we go.
EMP.
No, they got it.
Okay, they got the second.
They got it.
Sorry, really.
I was also talking about the lack of a secondary hard breach. They are indeed bringing the secondary hard breachers, courtesy of the Bucks. There is that caveat to bring forward. C4 is up. Will it go off in time, though? It has yet to go off, and finally it will, at near perfect timing. They were trying to break off the default camera from up above, but they will only do so to their demise. The drop-in memorial has come through, so there is control on that far side of the bottom floor, but Not Weebs have to be able to find kills before they aggress. If they don't, then all these crossfires will quickly tear them apart before they're even able to aggress. The Toxic Babe over towards the main door. Dan now isolated towards Memorial, but still finds the kill onto Uzi, bringing that man advantage back to an equalization. But the problem is, Sneaky being caught off guard, Corrupt's aggression is well-founded, and Dan has to tunnel vision towards the highway. A follow-up Toxic Babe will isolate to a very one-dimensional push, and a late exothermic charge just to open up an extra entryway, should they be able to find it. Again, Corrupt goes over towards that same blue rotate and finds a down this time onto Power. A 1 versus 3 for Dan, though, is not going to come so easily, and the MPX to close it out will give Silly Geese a 5-1 lead into the half. So much worse than on map 1.
So much worse indeed. It just could not really be getting too much worse than it is now. And Silly Geese, you know, they're here. They're here to play. They've shown up since that first round. You may look at the scoreboard and think, oh, Not Weebs really making it competitive. But that was just one round. It's still 5 straight from Silly Geese. They're still doing effectively the same thing they did last map, except it took them a little while to get started. They had a little bit of a cooldown, perhaps, on their big win streaks after using such a big one to end last map. But they're back to life, and now they're back on attack, which they looked, safe to say, very dominant on Oregon. But Oregon and Clubhouse attacks aren't super similar. They're two of the more similar ones in the map pool, as they both involve basement sites with a lot of hatches, and you probably want to run a Habana. The top floor objectives have less actual area to work with in terms of like surrounding area, and hard breach just generally important. Thermite's very good on this map. They're relatively similar in some ways, but for the most part, you need very much better roam clearing than you might need on Oregon. Silly Geese could get away with not fully clearing certain parts of the map and just waiting for the inevitability of a flank on the last map, but it's likely they'll have to not be able to do that this time. they'll have to contend with a lot more off-site holds, most likely, from the not Weebs. That doesn't really roll off the tongue so well, does it?
Not the Weebs?
Not the Weebs. Not Weebs the. Eh.
Weebs, the not?
The non-Weebs? That might be it. But that's a different letter. Ah,
I feel like... Oh, geez.
Oh, that
damn.
hit?
That's gross.
What a shot.
I think that's a ping thing on the observer side. Our observer, for some context, is on the West Coast. West Coast ping to any server, period, is abysmal because Ubisoft. So, you know, that's why things may look weird every so often. I promise you some of those shots actually do hit somehow. But that's the main reason. Sometimes things look a little bit more odd than usual.
Yeah. Fortunately for Dan, though, that's not actually where those shots were placed, as it would have been tracking just a bit behind, but phenomenal tracking to be sure. Rest assured, Dan really did earn that frag, and Corrupt now down. You have another hard breacher, but Cheese has already popped one exothermic on the CCTV wall. And so, if he runs into any kind of resistance that takes away the other one while trying to get open, presumably Jacuzzi, then it's going to be tough. Either that, or he'll pop it on construction, and then they won't get Jacuzzi wall open, which is an even bigger problem, because that allows people to play inside of that hallway, just outside of the objective, totally for free, without any contesting, and that is not something you can allow as the attack.
We've seen more than enough instances of Silly Geese still losing the opening kill and winning the round anyway. Looking for that to be the case, at least if you are indeed a Silly Geese fan. In this instance, just the same. Sneaky playing towards the rotate into Jim. Nasty angle playing alongside that deployable shield. But this Rotera drone may actually be able to take it out if it's well timed, and it is. Drone will go down, shield will, I'm sorry, but, well, Sneaky will survive for the time being. Aggression now looking to come through for Silly Geese. That man advantage can very well be relinquished in early stages, but with 50 seconds, they need to find all 5 kills as they open up many more ways into the site.
They're going to need to take advantage of everyone because they don't have Jacuzzi. Sneaky takes down TK in his attempt to get in wherever it may have been. Now Gage, watching from underneath, knows that there's somebody going to be down there watching these holes forward, but might not be able to watch that as well as the swing from Logi. Just waiting at the very other side of that hole, but is eventually able to sneak through. Now Rothermel goes down, and nobody's swinging from Logi either. C4 from underneath is going to miss, and Gage might have found some kind of an opening, but needs to get even more than just this. Frost not going to be expected behind the desk because they had the hatch open. They would have thought he left, but instead he gets one and leaves them in disarray. Trade out from Gage, but it's not enough. Sneaky got one, and Dan with another. Not Weebs with their first defensive round of the entire series. The whole best of 3, and what a time to get it at to keep themselves alive in a map where they looked a little bit dead on arrival.
Gage's nade also hits the side wall and goes out into the middle of logistics. They actually thought they cleared the backside of logistics desk because they had droned it prior and saw the Cade, but they didn't know if the Cade had backed away at that specific time. So they tried to nade it just to make sure, but it went off like a small side of the wall, a pipe, whatever happened to be there. Either way, it ended up costing him 1 kill and then eventually a second because of the trade. That may very well have been the round victory as well. If you gain highway control there in the backside of Vault, you may very well pick it up, but a single kill may be the determinant of not Weebs facing map and match point, or just sticking around for the time being. Some interesting notes on comebacks in previous engagements, other teams, other series, and other tournaments. I watched a best of 3 yesterday, about the time that ours ended. Outlast had lost 7-1 on map 1 to Illness in round 5 of Xenon Gaming Series Swiss. They then proceeded to win map 2 somehow, and after going down 6-0 on Theme Park, won 8-6 there. So, maybe just a 7-0 for not Weebs on map 1 is the real determining factor for them to kick things away. Mainly because Dan 3041 just keeps running out on people, and they keep dying. That's a nasty... What an angle. I'm sorry?
What? Where was that even... Was that like through the...
It was freezer door.
Yeah, was that like through the little excavator thing? Was there like a slight hole there? Did he pre-fire it?
I think he ran around to like the far side of the...
Did he just run out that far? Wow.
Yeah.
Must have caught somebody still on a drone or something. Dan, phenomenal kill to get. Actually, no, he took damage. It was a gunfight. He just won it. 2 straight very early opening picks for Dan, and Power is going to keep it going as Gage taken down very, very fast. And a 3-on-5 now. Silly Geese don't even get close to the building. One of them barely gets in strip hallway. One of them barely gets off their drone. And now they're at a 5-on-3. What a round for Not Weebs already.
And no worries, Silly Geese have come back from a 3v5 before. It's not like it was one of the more notable rounds back on Oregon or anything, nor one of the ones I brought up on 3 separate occasions between maps. That's no worries.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Not,
So, I just,
not Weebs. The big caveat for them is they've taken out the Hibana. They can still open up one of the 2 hatches, but they don't have an extra secondary hard breach, i.e. hard breach tool is a secondary piece of utility for a Buck or a Ying or whoever would wield them. And the Selmas, you have to use 2 of them to open up a single hatch, so only one of them is a possibility. They can, of course, play for some more soft breach. They have the Sledge, without any drones, by the way. They also have the Rotero drones, courtesy of Uzi, but they want to try and use those to take out generic utility. This is more of a problem than I think Silly Geese were originally noting because of the fact that they lost those 2 all-important operators. Uzi and Angle are cross, trying to drop down the Jaeger should they walk into their crossfires, and they will. Uzi picks up 1 kill to return. 60 seconds left, a 1-man disadvantage, not the end of the world by any means for a team with the comeback ability that Silly Geese pertains, but Not Weebs still with the advantage to say the very least. That hit his leg.
a little bit of a leg shot. Never going to be disappointed about that, but definitely disappointed that that is pretty much all that he did in that spot. After getting that 1 kill, Uzi now put down with not a lot left to do for Silly Geese. Other than, you know, pretty much everything. Mostly just not a lot left to do because there's not really much left that they can do. And you can only imagine it'll be a matter of time until they go down. But then again, constantly need to keep in mind that comeback ability is something that Silly Geese have shown before, but that is not going to make it any easier. TK taken down by Frost. Good trade from Corrupt, and then he gets another. Could be staring down the barrel of something that isn't so desirable for Not Weebs. Expecting the right corner, knows to pre-fire it. 1-on-1 against Power. Might need to stick this plant though, and Power has a gas canister to deny. Can also just push forward the SMG-11 as time winds down. But he's looking in the wrong corner. No, he's not. He gets it done eventually, and then hits him with the butt stock of his SMG just to make sure. Even gonna go get that res onto Frost, just because he wants to be a nice little teammate and possibly get a little extra rating points, maybe find himself a little higher towards the top of the scoreboard in the video game to feel a little better about himself. But Not Weebs have got to be feeling quite good about themselves after they shut down the Silly Geese attack twice in a row and look much more alive on this map than the last.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I was really hoping that he was gonna get then Mossberg him after picking him up. That would have been hilarious.
Wait,
But he didn't. What a shame. Pick him up just to kill him.
Just
make sure, yes, you shall
just...
go down. I still have to say, that round was much closer than it should have been. Power, if Power checks that corner either A, half a second later, or B, they are actually the first one cleared, then Silly Geese somehow bring it back from, what, the 2v4, 3v5 again? It was too close for comfort, to understate the obvious. Too many 1v1s for Not Weebs on today's episode of they tried to take way too many gunfights when they really didn't have to.
It wasn't called
Part
that last
19.
time. Last time you called it things you should not do with a man advantage. I actually like that one. I like both of them, but I feel like things you should not do with a man advantage, just, you know.
It seems to have, like, better recognizable branding.
Okay,
Things you should not do with a man advantage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
like, yeah.
We may stick with that one for the future, but we're trying out some ideas in the earlier
we might
stages
pitch it
of the
to
TV
like
shows.
NBC, HBO, someone like that. You know, we'll think about it. Let us know what you think of the show.
I think the options are, what? Things you shouldn't do with a man advantage.
What was the last one you just said? Because it was much more long-winded.
I don't remember.
Exactly.
See,
there we go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
I
the other one
remembered
wins.
the last one you said for like an hour, and no, it wasn't an hour, but like half an hour. But
I have the new one.
Okay.
On today's episode of How to Be a Silly Goose.
We star Not Weebs, not Silly Geese, because that's exactly what would happen. What is going on here?
Dan's lagging
Ooh.
a lot. We paused in pick phase because Dan was having some problems of actually loading in so they could pick an operator. Now
His
there's
game
more
looks
packet
like
loss than they can pertain.
Yeah, his game looks like a slideshow.
Hey, he's just proficient in Microsoft PowerPoint. Put it on his resume.
We're not gonna rehost. Oh, so we're just gonna.
No, they didn't call for it.
They didn't call for it. Yeah, so
Elbows up.
too late. It happens. It is what it is. But yeah, I just want to point out, by the way, I just heard my dog shake behind me. I don't know if you guys hear that on the mic or not, but it's funny because the clubhouse has the ambiance of the dog noises. I thought that was my dog barking. Instead, the first thing to let off the leash is actually Uzi to take down Dan. First of all, a phenomenal kill to find early. Because now you're going up against a bunch of people who are very good gunners in their own right, but haven't been living up to the rate at which Dan has been killing so far through this map. So a big kill for Silly Geese to find quickly, but Rothermel with a wonderful frag back to keep it even.
1 for 1, especially considering you're dropping the sledge and nades, and Dan 3041 was lagging out the wazoo. I think you're pretty happy with that, to understate what we can see thus far. Corrupt does still have a way to jump in. That Kiba barrier did not properly extend to the window. It only landed on the desk directly next to it. Rothermel also has lost their safety net of construction control, so Weebs have been forced to condense a little bit earlier than I think is ideal for them. They do have all 4 players in the direct vicinity of the site. She's taking a decent bit of damage, not dealing all that much, has to run away from a C4 and does so adequately, of which I may believe has been shot out of thin air. PW, oh my goodness, Power just yeets a C4 up and over. The run out of stock works perfectly and Cheese is dropped. That's your thermite. And I don't know if you can open up that main breach. You do still have the ace, but can you consistently get this off with a Cade still on the board?
It's going to be difficult. Frost's going to make it even more difficult for the attack. Uzi knocked down and out. One of them knocked down, but not quite out just yet, as Frost is killed now by Corrupt, who's into the middle of the site. But Rothermel goes aggressive with the shotgun, is now taking back control of construction. Now being contested by Corrupt, might swing into an angle he probably shouldn't, and gives himself up, just runs across the angle. Now another possible clutch opportunity for the same man who nearly made it happen just 1 round ago. A 5-3 scoreline as we stand with barely any time left. Corrupt has nothing to contest on the site itself, though. And if they have enough intel in this objective, they've got a Valkyrie up. They could just wait for the plant and call for the C4. Corrupt is going to notice, though, and he's actually going to try and play for kills instead. Running down red stairs, seemingly. Not sticking the diffuser just yet, and he doesn't know what to do. He's completely flabbergasted at the abandoned site, and a wonderfully won round for Weebs as they just get to do nothing and win anyways.
I'm going to say I'm a little concerned about that round for Silly Geese for a myriad of different reasons, but the main one being information play. In our previous map, they seemed to have all the information they needed. Every single trade went their way, all the frags were in their favor. Weebs still tried to give that round to Silly Geese, because, again, for some reason, Rothermel was crossing the site when they didn't have to. Again, Weebs, stick in one spot for more than 8 seconds, difficulty level impossible. But Silly Geese was still involved. The problem was, Corrupt had no idea where Sneaky was. They were not seen, they did not find a kill in the round at all. And they were just happy to disengage, play around information and utility. With the Valkyrie on the board, they had all the information they needed to play off of, and Cheese dropped the diffuser almost a minute prior out on that balcony, courtesy of the Power C4. So Valkyrie the MVP for 2 separate reasons, both involving the diffuser, but a minute apart. Either way, Weebs will take it, and then we'll move over towards gym and bedroom. The basement is still locked, considering the round from 2 rounds prior. And wow, that's a nasty electric claw if it lands. It goes on the speakers. Does it go off? Verdict. ... No. No, it does not. No, he's gonna pick it up again. If he can.
Can he?
Yes, he can.
I can. Nice. Okay.
There we go.
Goes there. Should be good. We got it?
3rd time's the charm.
We got it.
Yay!
Nice. Finally happens. 20 seconds into the actual round happening, but that's neither here nor there, as it happened eventually, and now they will begin to make their way into the building. Silly Geese. As for a brief moment in time, I thought Dan was an attacker, and this was the craziest entry of all time. But,
I'm a caster.
Oh, you're... The guy in the server called Dan, not you,
Well,
Mr. Time
okay.
to Light.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay, so Dan went live before this game started on Twitch, and our productions manager, Yali, calls me Dan. Not Time to Light or TTL. My first name's Dan. So she says, and I quote, Dan just went live. And at that point, I had just opened up our broadcast software, and I'm the next one to produce. So I was concerned that I accidentally went live to the Twitch channel. I was like, wait, how? I didn't.
I
thought
the same thing when she said that. I was like, wait, but I thought it was just like on your Twitch channel. I was like, why are you streaming this? This is a random thing to stream. Like, I guess if we're allowed to, it'd be cool, but like, I don't know, like, it's random, but That's funny. We had the same exact thought when she said.
Interesting, to say the least. We were referencing Dan3041 on his own Twitch stream, not myself.
Yes.
As interesting as that one
On
sounds
any
for all
Twitch
of you.
stream.
Yeah, I was a little concerned as to which Twitch stream I was on. That could have been bad, to say the very least. We'll move on, though, into round number 10. Notweaves now looking to tie things up, certainly have the availability to do so, but have been basing a lot of their success off of early kills. They haven't found one just yet. Uzi, if they waited an extra 2 seconds, may very well have been gifted one, courtesy of the Moroccan defender, but does not find the opportunity. Rotera Drone will be shot out as Sneaky will disengage. And a minute left in this round, and Silly Geese have done a whole lot of nothing other than gain some level of real estate and play a little bit more patiently than is ideal. The feat seen for the Ion of the head, not so much. Gage will win the fight, but a C4 and a Mark 14 to return. Notweaves retain that man advantage in the all-important later stages.
They don't have a lot of time yet left here, though, and like you had pointed out, they just kind of have a little bit of control, but not a significant amount of the map to call their own. Uzi looks like he wants to focus on Logi. Corrupt might want to go in through bedroom door, and then on bedroom windows 1 as well, as Frost is waiting for the push in. Could shut down Uzi, and that's going to make it a lot harder for Silly Geese. Your backstab is gone, but Corrupt continues to kill in spite of the things in his way. Corrupt nearly lands a headshot, robbed of that kill seemingly, at least by the looks of it. Dan waiting for the push in from the ace and should be able to shut him down, but they're both losing so much health. But TK's been knocked down, though, so Notweaves not too distraught at the fact they didn't quite get that kill. Corrupt is going to try and stick a Hail Mary of a plant. That pass has been intercepted, and we catch the wrong kill cam as Notweaves are able to take that round. We've evened things back out as unlikely as it seemed, and it would seem that we were just looking at one of the more defender-sided clubhouses we've seen in recent memory.
5-1 in the first half for Silly Geese, and now 4-0 in the second for Notweaves, now requiring back-to-back rounds for Silly Geese to turn the tables and give themselves the advantage that they needed. Literally only 2 rounds, by the way, on the attack, but it's seemingly been lackluster. Brief reminder, by the way, they went 6-0 on their attacking side back on Oregon, 1-0 on their defense because they really only had to play 1 round. Here on Club, 5-1 on their defense, 0-4 on their attack thus far. Still 2 rounds to play, obviously, but the concerning part is the fact that they've barely gained a foothold in a lot of these rounds, and the closer they've become, seemingly the farther away they've been from winning them. It's been a real roundabout sort of way of saying Silly Geese has not looked great in the later stages.
To be sure, Silly Geese, it's been lackluster. And it feels so weird as well, how different you can look. What a difference the side of the map can make. As Silly Geese go up 5-1 with 5 straight rounds and now have let up 4 in a row. We are yet to see, like, just a back and forth point in any of these games. As, Dan, looking for creative spawn peaks again through the panels, is even able to land a shot or two to take a little bit of health off TK. Not a big amount, but hey, you know, maybe that will be the difference between a round win or not. Maybe TK's in a scenario with a 1v1 where if he had hypothetically had just that bit more HP, he would have lived, but he actually ends up dying. Now, I'm not trying to call my shot a little too early here, but you never know. The damage helps, and Dan didn't really take it in the return. One thing it has done, though, is slow down this attack, is everyone on Silly Geese is cognizant that Dan could be anywhere, and very afraid to get into this building they are for that very reason.
Similar situation multiple times over as well here for Silly Geese's attack. Dan currently occupying CCTV, could be encroached upon from that connector / cache side. The Buck has indeed opened up a way in. They're now looking to take that fight, but Uzi's actually the one to take damage, maybe from their teammate or from above, depending on whether Dan was looking down or it was just random team damage courtesy of TK's L8. The shot across, though, Dan misses the opportunity. Same for Corrupt, though, with the C8 in hand. Neither of them landing the shot they need to pick up the opening duel. Frost, not so much. Will with the key K1A drop down TK, and Corrupt is really just the distraction. The problem is, well, the walk-up from Red Stairs is taking forever and a day for Silly Geese. It will still find the kill. Nice one there for Uzi. But is it good enough? That's the real question. The answer thus far? Honestly, not really.
And the answer through this half has been not really as well. It hasn't been doing nearly enough, as you need to get the electrocution off of that hatch. You also need to keep Uzi alive. You're not going to be able to do that. Rothermel with 1 towards Secret, just walks up the stairs, gets a kill, and walks back into sight without much contest. And they still have power alive in Garage. Not Weebs have way too much control of the entire map at the moment. I would be very much scared should I be Silly Geese. Now, I am not, though I am a little bit of a silly goose myself, but Rothermel gets that kill onto Corrupt. And so it's looking worse and worse for the SG side, and perhaps we see Not Weebs with their first significant lead of the game. Not including, of course, when they were winning by 1 round after the first round of this game, but rather winning by 1 round, being the ones on match point. That would be quite the significant lead to find, and they are 1 2v4 away from making that a reality.
This is a concerning notion now for Silly Geese. Obviously, the 2v4 already a difficulty. The lack of utility and the lack of entryways is making it even more so. They actually do clear out that church side, but Rothermel just looking to hold it down with the Mossberg in hand. She's in 1 versus 3, has the Bearing 9 and the Type 89, but Rothermel patiently holding towards that head hull rotate. The Impact Grenade will do all of 3 damage, but the MX4 Storm, the remaining 8 to need, the headshot just to add insult to injury, and the round to Not Weebs. They will take their second lead of the series. The first to make it 1-0 here on Club, the second to put them onto map point.
Quite a difference between those leads as well, as the difference there is that at one point they were up, well, what'd you say?
Sorry?
I don't know. Sorry. I thought I heard you say something. My mistake. But anyways, we are all right. And Silly Geese, funny to think that Not Weebs go up 1 round, and now all of a sudden they're up match point. But in between that, they won 5 rounds in a row after Silly Geese won 5 rounds in a row. So, very, very random. Very weird. You know? Just kind of doesn't really make much sense. This game hasn't made much sense on a whole. As it was 7 consecutive rounds from Silly Geese, we've only seen, again, well, this is the same thing I said last time, kind of similar, but we've only seen 1 time where it was just 1 team winning 1 round. That was Not Weebs at the start of this map. Since then, we've seen a streak of 5, and before that we saw a streak of 7. What on earth is going on? It seems that one team is just better than the other until the other team is just better than the other, and then there's nothing you can do until the tides just switch, and it doesn't really seem that much dictates when these tides switch, except for when the sides switch, as we have barely seen any attacking wins on this map, and we barely saw any defensive wins on the last map.
I have to say I'm a little concerned for Not Weebs, though. Silly Geese has not shown all that much skin to say we can easily be taken care of. That's my concern. Sometimes, and a lot of this map, that has been the case, which I'm actually kind of surprised about. Not only because it was a 7-0 in map 1, but because a lot of these rounds have still been fairly close. Dan playing on the Aruni, again, playing for the Mark 14. 13-9, by the way, for them. Top fragging for their own team, and top fragging for the lobby just the same. Corrupt, trying to keep their drones safe. But, yeah, it's not. El Bozo. Feels bad, man.
Oh. Tough. You hate to see it. I like the chat as well. Please no. Please. My drone. I need it. It's gonna do so much for me. But regardless, a very, very interesting composition for the defensive side, though it makes more sense in terms of what we've been seeing. It's congruent to their last few rounds that we have been seeing them play on. And this is also a relatively traditional construction, or rather, a clubhouse, I guess. Clubhouse attack has 2 hard breachers and a support to make sure those walls get open to deny the Mute and the Kaid that aren't actually being brought by Not Weebs. And then you've got a couple of entries. Gage brought because the Valkyrie could be played, and last time you attacked the site, the Valkyrie cam won the other team the round because it allowed for a C4 from below. Now that didn't really actually happen. They didn't C4 them from below, but the Val cam being there meant that Kaid could play it from underneath, and that Kaid being downstairs won them that round, and meant that Corrupt had no idea where to go to kill the last players. So it did its job, I suppose. The Valkyrie's been helping a lot, so you pick Gage on it on IQ to get rid of it.
Timing for Sneaky, who was originally on top of the desk, fell back behind the server rack, and then eventually ended up backing away, somehow with their life, timing helping them a little bit in that situation. Uzi not being on the correct angle at the correct time. Welcome to tactical first-person shooters, where timing will determine the scope of your life in a round more often than just straight-up gunfights will. And Not Weebs, at this point, now looking to condense, again, a smaller amount earlier in the round than I think is ideal. Uzi, a nasty angle to hold on towards the Kate, who's stuck in that corner. The swing across, second attempt actually over towards the main door of CC. They want to try and play for this kill. They actually do get shot, somehow not in the head from the ace. but damage nonetheless, and furthermore onto Rothermel. But it is still a 5v5 with just under half the round to go.
Funny looking Kiba. I love when like the whole Kiba is just like kind of levitating a little bit and it just looks like it's so out of place, but it's gonna deny that ability to use that main door. But wow, as soon as Rothermel turns around to try and get a kill onto the player who was just meleeing down the Kiba, that was a creative play, but they had an extra angle opened up onto them they didn't seem to be aware of. And that will be the bane of the Mute's existence. Sneaky, though, with a trade back. And Not Weebs have been doing well when push comes through, but, oh, Sneaky not killed. Not punished for walking out into the open by the player on the rappel. Should be punished for playing here. How is he still alive? But he's somehow allowed to exist until Geese steps in, makes it a man advantage with 35 seconds left. And now all they need to do is the push, but it's not that simple, though. Uzi hoping to make it look that easy.
Lack of utility left over here for Not Weebs comes back to bite them, and Silly Geese really just able to tidy things up. The amount of sight lines they had ended up being the Achilles heel for Not Weebs, and there's the single round that Silly Geese really needed. They will force OT, but they will still be stuck on the attacking side. They will play rounds 13 and 15, assuming 15 is required, on that attack, and Not Weebs, same notion for them, but on the flip side, the defense, and the favorable side for them, at least here on Club, but it's really a coin flip, depending on how you look at it. It's entirely possible Silly Geese win this round and win round 15 after losing their defense, because you never really know in the realm of T3 Siege.
Yeah, you never really know with this game either, do you? As this was literally, it was the same first half but reversed, as we saw 1 round then responded to with 5. Last half, we see 5 rounds responded to with 1. And so the only times we've seemingly seen a team win just 1 round isolated of the others have been at the start and end of that half. That is, at least, if Silly Geese lose this round. If they win it, though, we've seen a win streak of 2. And considering the fact that when they've won a round, they've only either won 5 in a row or 7 in a row after winning that round, or it was somewhere in that streak, pretty much. You get the idea. It might be a round win for Silly Geese. Maybe they just needed to win an attack, and then all of a sudden they can win every attack everywhere all of the time. But basement has been very difficult for them. 2 times in a row now, I believe, attacking this site. They have found themselves in a 4-on-2 with not much time, not much control, and not much of a shadow of a chance at winning the round. They will need to make sure the clear of the entire map goes better than it has in rounds prior, so they cannot end up at such a large deficit here.
Honestly, I would love to see a rush here from Silly Geese. Not Weebs is employing the earlier stage ideals of Silly Geese back in rounds 1 and 3 of our first half on that defensive side of the bottom floor. If we see just a rush from Silly Geese completely circumventing that far side hold, they can quickly take the site and, most importantly, have a significant man advantage as they attempt to do so. Or they can try and clear it out and have TK die in the early stages. There goes your Thatcher, there goes the potential of taking out an Electroclaw over towards Kitchen, and a follow-up from Dan as they will fade away with a frag. Looking for a follow-up now is Frost over towards that far side of Bar. But Silly Geese are losing so much more than they're gaining. Real estate, manpower, utility, they're just losing every single battle.
They might be losing the morale battle as well. Perhaps the most important of all, though Corrupt is going to get something back. So they're not losing quite every battle as soon as you say that. It's Frost who's able to get something. But are we really happy with that at this point in the round? More than half of the round to go, and you have some area of the map. Like, real estate is yours, and you've just knocked down power. He will get picked back up because of the nature of where he's been knocked down, that being inside of church, and how he's been knocked down, that being with a frag grenade. But it's likely they'll get him back up, as he's already back on his feet. And a 4-on-3 is Not Weebs just waiting inside the site for this final push. If one more player goes down on Silly Geese, we're looking at the same situation they've been looking at time and time again, which is a 2-on-4 with about a minute and not really much map control, at least around this site. And so it's not looking great for them. As they notice the impact hole in the roof, they have to be aware that somebody could be up there, but there's nobody there. They're wasting their time. They just need to get into the site push, because they've got a 3-on-4. It's not as bad as it's been in rounds prior, and they're hoping they can get some kind of entry pick to get into this site, get a foothold, get a plant down, maybe even a little bit of a round.
Problem is they need to be able to hold that cross before they even attempt the drop. That cross angle with the Cade could very well be the singular avenue of attack that cost them that fight. The cross, Corrupt just takes forever to react, and the cross still comes through. Sneaky doesn't shut down that push into the back corner of sight. A defuse may still very well come through, but the Mossbird will shut it down. A double 2 return, though, as Gage will pick up 2. The refrag's still there. The potential still available, but power on this flank could be the MVP required. Gage onto a sliver of health. A well-placed breeze may very well blow them over, but power doesn't have the angle they need, and Gage has now found a 3K. Corrupt looking to get the diffuser down, but will do so in a more safe avenue of the site. Power looking to prone drop the hatch, will do so potentially, and looking to deny the defuse will completely wreck the hopes of Silly Geese. The time being the bane of their existence, and the false sense of security gives Not Weebs match point again.
Oh no. That's not... They had such a good plant spot for that. They were worried about the blue play, so they switched to that cornering dummies, but they didn't realize he was at hatch, and the hatch play was so big. Like you said, you pointed it out. It was going to be the bane of this push from Silly Geese, and if they had just kept that plant where they had it initially, it would have been fine. The cover would have been okay enough to shut down that player dropping that hatch and trying to shut down a plant, because you pretty much had your cover right on top of your diffuser planter, which in most instances isn't a great thing, but in that instance was perfectly fine, because you don't want to expose your planter in a spot where your cover can't do anything about it, and that was exactly the nature of the positions they were playing there at the end. They could not do a single thing. The plant just shut down, and what a clutch from Power. He was struggling last map, had a couple of big rounds, has been much bigger this game, but that has got to be the biggest play he's made all map long, because it gives them an advantage. It was almost Silly Geese winning one of their only attacking rounds they've won. They would have been 2 for 7 if they had won that. And winning one of those 7 rounds, or one of those 2 rounds out of 7 they were able to win in overtime to start it off and to put themselves on defense would have been such a big momentum swing in SG's favor, but Not Weebs shut it down. Phenomenal play by Power.
I can't believe the way in which they do it. You had a safe plant spot, the thought process was there, but again it came down to a lack of information. Silly Geese losing too many drones, too many players early, not actionable intelligence, and now as we move in, it's their defense that needs to hold. They seemingly had every feasible advantage that they could indeed pick up, and now they're left with nothing. Odd hold on the top floor as well. A lot more utility dedicated to this than I originally thought. Obviously, the double reinforced towards Jacuzzi, not out of the realm of normality, but Mozzie Pest there, more manpower just the same. They do not want to give this up for free, nor honestly at all, but if they are going to give it up, they don't want to give it away for free.
Hotly contested area of the map, to be sure. Silly Geese, though, this is reminiscent of the exact strategy they tried in round 1, and that strategy is most well known for being the one defensive round they lost, at least within the context of this match. And now already the one fight they've taken, they've lost as well. Uzi's down first, and Gage is just looking for a trade, but might get caught in that act, and as he's caught by a drone, needs to fall off. Doesn't even get to destroy the drone either. Barely keeps himself alive. Might be a little happy with that, but definitely disappointed the amount of map control they've had to give up. If there is one silver lining, though, it's the time. They've wasted more than half of the round, and not really able to make too many renovations are Not Weebs. If Gage is able to catch one off guard by getting a kill here and make it a 4-on-4, we're not staring down the barrel of too difficult a situation as Silly Geese, but for the time being, it looks pretty solid for Not Weebs.
Odd position as well for Silly Geese to be in. Losing Uzi early, that's a lot of your fragging power that you had back on Oregon and some of the earlier stages here on Club gone. Off the board, taken care of. Cheese looking for a lineup with a C4. This is to go towards the main door at the bottom of the main stairs. If they can line this up and possibly pick up a couple kills, they're in a much better position. A C4 that was previously used on the floors just to create a little bit more space, not so easily founded this time around. Cheese will look to line up a second time around and set it up to deny Rothermel that avenue of attack. Dirt is now also occupied, and with 30 seconds left, Not Weebs may very well be able to pick up the opening they need, but the barricade actually being able to shut this down for the time being. There's a C4.
Big C4 to find for Cheese and Rothermel down. They were able to make it even before the push comes through, and now a double flank attempted by Gage and TK, and Corrupt's holding it down strongly on site. Nothing to worry about here except Cheese has gone down, so now your sight hold might be weak, but
Perfect.
Gage and Corrupt, they're perfectly timing the flank, and it's only Power alone in Dirt with 5 seconds and a heck of a lot of fire in his way. It will fade, but there's just not much of a chance. And with that fire fading, so too, ironically enough, do the chances of winning that round for the attackers, as Silly Geese send us to round 15. Who would have thunk it? Last map, 7-0. This map starts off 5-1 in favor of Silly Geese, as they're looking at 5 rounds in a row. And of course, naturally, we end up on round 15, because you missed a couple of things in there. Very big changes of pace, and not Weebs have come alive, but Silly Geese not letting them have it too easily.
And the important aspect of that round is Silly Geese disengaging, but also making sure they have some level of protection for the 2 players they left on site. For a short period of time, there was actually a 1v3 on the site direct take. But the problem for Not Weebs was the Vulcan canister setup. They couldn't actionably take through the main door. They couldn't actionably take through Memorial, of which ended up being 2 of their demises. And then the third of which, Power was stuck in dirt because of the exact same Vulcan canister. There wasn't an easy way in. There was no safe haven for them to try to engage, and because of it, they couldn't play for an immediate refrag. They end up walking into a crossfire because those 2 flankers inevitably returned back to site. And now Not Weebs will look to defend Gym Bedroom to close out this map. It will close out this map, just the fashion in which it does so is the real question, and who it does so for.
Massive question indeed, and Not Weebs, they don't look to be in too bad of shape. Defense has been in such drastic favor through this map thus far, and they're going to get a lot of intel on players running out of the spawn with watching that default cam at the right time by Dan. It's not shout out as soon as it could be by Silly Geese, but they don't really seem to care. They're still going to move forward unbothered and using these hard breachers to get open both sides of the map. Frost has not really done too much with the Kai charges. They have construction wall from outside that is cated off, and I think they have the other construction wall in from Cash cated off as well, but both of the walls from outside opened very quickly and a lot of control established across the map this fast for Silly Geese. A pretty solid start for them.
Decent fashion for them to currently be in as well. I like their current setup around the defensive utility they've established. Obviously, the Azami's a big part of that as per usual, but they are now looking to open up construction on the attacking side. They have an avenue of attack in. There's going to be a Kiba barrier there to delay. I believe there are still 2 Kiba barriers yet to be deployed, if not a third in the making. But Silly Geese at this point still need to be able to not only clear out that secondary or primary utility that's set around that far side, but create a second avenue of attack in. They've used all of their exothermic charges. They still have the ace on the board for their Selmas, should they be able to use them. But Not Weebs have so much denial over so much time that this 5v5 may stay that way for the next 45 seconds.
Realistically could. Ironic ending as well, because so many times we've seen early aggression play to either one of these teams' advantages, so the final round taking so long to decide the fate of it makes sense in an ironic way, but just does still make sense regardless. Oh no, that Frost Mat gets Uzi down to just barely any health, and then Dan gets one as well. So it looks like they're not going to keep it in a 5-on-5. Dan steps in to get a kill. Now Uzi taken down as well. Very, very bad for Silly Geese as the tail end of the round looks great for Not Weebs.
No nade left over for TK either. No utility whatsoever. A single drone on 2 players, along with the only flash that has now been deployed, but Rothermel not cleared out of position may very well be the final nail in the coffin of the Silly Geese. Gage re-engaging over towards the main door, looks across towards Jim, finds damage but not a kill, and Cheese over towards Highway needs to be able to pick up some semblance of a frag. The shotgun shot misses, but Gage will not. Now looking to re-engage, finds a follow-up with Cheese as they walk straight through that Surya gate. It's down to Rothermel on the Highway spot. They may very well be cleared out from that far side, and they will. The 5-5-6-11 alongside Gage on the far side. It's Sneaky left in a 1 versus 2. The 9mm left over, swung from both sides. Silly Geese, the duo to dominate, and the match for themselves. They close out club in all of OT and the series in 2-0 fashion.
What a play! The best clutch play we've seen since some of those plays on map 1. In a phenomenal fashion ends it. And Cheese and Gage, who but Gage to be one of the ones to make such a big difference? Perhaps Corrupt would have been a bit just as fitting, but what on earth just happened? Gage with a phenomenal play. Cheese got a bunch of kills as well, and they just allow them into Logi. 5 people alive, and you're letting the other team into Logi. You can't do that. And at least not if you don't have any pressure on the flank. You just have 5 people in the site, and nobody's pressuring logistics. Nobody's even so much as watching it. You let them in there, give them opportunities. Nobody's watching construction in those instances. Way too many backs turned to Gage. Way too many problems that I can't go over them all here. It's just you give up those opportunities, and you cannot do that against a team like this squad. Silly Geese is going to take advantage. Cheese and Gage do just that, and what a phenomenal fashion to end it. Just barely sneaking out. Round 15 after the first map was just a little easier to win, just to say the least, but they still do it well. They still do it in dramatic fashion, and Silly Geese are still able to win.
They somehow win a best of 3 in the most dominant again, and the closest possible fashion possible. They won 2-0, which again in a best of 3 is the most dominant. 7-0 in a singular map is the most dominant, and then 8-7. Yeah. That's the only way you can win by 1 round, is if you win 8-7. And they are able to pull it off.
And they managed to make it look dominant and also not dominant at the same time in the last round as well. Yeah. Because they were getting dominated to start with, and then they were the ones dominating. They had 2 people left alive in a 2 versus 5 scenario. That is not normal. That is crazy to think that. And, excuse me, they worked against the odds so many times as well. They had not a great position to work from. They almost won that first OT round on attack, and then they win it there. They won 2 attacking rounds. We saw 3 attacking round wins across the entirety of that map. 20% attacker win rate, and it happens when they needed it most. Of course it does. That's just what that was one of those games. One of those just, of course, right? Because it had to be scripted like that.
I feel like a lot of those have been the case over a short period of time. Here's your stats for map number 2, whatever way in which we can break this one down. I think there's a lot to boil down. The most notable of I think all of them is Dan 3041. I believe the second team stats are not updated.
No, that's the last map.
That is last map stats. They will be updated in just a few seconds. But Silly Geese, for the time being, will boil them down. The cost numbers are mostly different. It's a full house rather than 5 of a kind. 67% for Gage, Corrupt, and Uzi, while TK and Cheese were stuck at 53. But honestly, in a match that ends as close as this, those are about as normal cost numbers as you can expect. We're going to get the stats refreshed. You'll take a look back at us for a few extra seconds. But I gotta say, the most surprising thing about that is how, in the final round, more specifically, not Weebs played the 5v2. Because that's what it was. It was a 5v2. You have 5 players alive, you give up logistics. That, number 1, was a red flag. Number 2, the connector door. Nobody was actionably watching it at any specific time in the round. Gage took 3 separate gunfights and either A, won them, or B, did enough damage to not have to return any. He walked straight through a Syria gate, was happy to do so, by the way. And the fact that they just continued collapsing on a 5-man roster, and doing so successfully, I think is the most outstanding part of that matchup. Round 15, as close as things can get, and a 2v5, you'd think, this is over, we're going to a map 3. No. El Bozo, you were incorrect.
So many El Bozos on that map. Just kind of goes to show what kind of a map we just watched, really. As just wow. I think you put it perfectly with just emphasizing they have 2 people against 5, and they looks to be in such good control that they are pincering the people on this site. You had so many other things you could have done there, not Weebs. You could have maybe gone for some kind of flank. Somebody goes underneath and plays around explosive. Somebody just looks at construction. Somebody just looks at Gage. I felt like every time they exposed themselves to construction door, they were looking elsewhere. They weren't quite looking at him, and it was just really tough to watch because you're just like, something has got to give here. They did so little damage to him that, like you would emphasize, he just happily walked through an Aruni gate just because he felt like it. He had plenty of HP to spare. It was no worry. And there you go. We have updated stats now. I think Dan and Frost are mixed up. But other than that, these stats are updated, and yeah, I think I think it's the same name order as the last map. But other than that, it is the correct stat lines across the board for many different people. Dan, 5-2 on entry. That is phenomenal.
Thank you, Spawn Peaks.
Wow. Entry kills as well because he's denying their entries by killing them before they do that.
If I've done my math correctly, they also went 9-6 on entries in that map on the not Weebs side. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 9 and 6 on entries. 5 of them courtesy of Dan3041. I will readdress. Dan and Frost are switched as of right now. We'll get that fixed in just a few seconds. But Silly Geese's attack, I think, is the most important of these aspects. Gage popping off in the later stages. Found a 3K in that final round. Uzi'd a couple alongside them. Cheese popping off when required. Also, only a single plant in the entirety of this matchup.
Crazy.
That's
We almost saw 2.
Yeah, true.
We nearly
and
saw 2.
If we saw a second one, that actually would have been the round and the map ending 2-0 as well, or 2-0 in overtime. 8-6 would have been the total score, but still wild.
Yeah, very much still wild. Is that first plant that we saw with Silly Geese in one of their first attacking rounds. It might even have been their first, if not their second, because it was that 1v4 they almost gave up, but eventually things were fine. And that's so many rounds. They almost gave it up, but eventually things were fine. And the last round was they almost gave it up, and then they did. But, so yeah, kind of flipping that stereotype on its head as entries across the board better for Not Weebs, very reminiscent of last map. They were pretty solid on entries. They got 10 of the entry kills there, they got 9 of the entry kills there, and only 6 of them went to Silly Geese. But they still won the map. Or rather, they didn't win the map. Sorry. Not Weebs won a lot more entry kills, but Silly Geese still won the map. That doesn't always happen a lot. That's happened 2 maps in a row now, where although Not Weebs didn't win more entry kills last map, they got 3 of them out of the 7. They didn't get any round wins. Like, that's crazy to think out of a 7-0, you won 3 of 7 entry rounds. And there again, to win that many entries and still not win that map, phenomenal job the Silly Geese to pull those rounds back consistently. They were the clutch gods, it would seem, and most clutch when it matters most.
In the end of the day, if Happy and I are casting your game, just lose your opening duels and you'll win the map or the match. That seems to be the lesson of today that we will take away. And it's a wild way to do so, but it is indeed the series ending 2-0. 7-0 in map 1 on Oregon, 8-7 on Club. What we're going to do is we're going to send it to an extended break. And by an extended break, I mean we're going to take down the stream, cycle out some production staff and some casters. I'm going to go to the production booth, and by that I mean just this chair while turning on that computer. Happy's going to step away for the tournament. Amazing to have him in once more, and a massive thank you to our producer today, who will be back on tomorrow, M.I. Blizzard. Paul and Griffin, your observer once more, and as we recycle our production, we'll recycle the stream. Again, stream's gonna go down. We'll come back in about 30-45 minutes with our quarterfinals matchups before semis tomorrow and grand finals to close out the tournament.
I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away, run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away, run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. Gotta find my escape now. Got me tired of the beat down. But I'm smiling through the pain and I'm crying for a change, cause my head got me spinning round. Lost control and I'm falling for you. Gave my all, but now I ignore you. All the things I had in store, yeah. Now I gotta run away. Now I gotta run away. Tell me to leave, but I wanted to stay. Riding solo while I skirt through the race. Sipping straight out the bottle, ain't no need to chase. And I got all these problems that I need to face, but I'm gonna run away, run away. From giving you all my time, I've been trying to find a way to run away, run away. I've been tired of finding ways to hide, so now I need to run away, run away. You've been lying, you got me dying inside, so now I want to run away, run away. The back of my mind, the only place I can run and go escape to. So what about us? We've been chillin' laid back in a whip all black, tryna smoke some. Let the way we gotta act, hate the ways you react when we get done. Baby, just relax, I'ma keep us intact, we gon' have fun. We gon' have fun. side of the story. You don't wanna hear me out cause you loving the glory. Thought I saw your true colors but my vision was blurry. Forever lasts forever but you left in a hurry.